There we go. Why does it keep bringing up the stats thing? I don't want that up. All right. Okay. Here we go.
Gets everything that he wants, but on the other side, he now puts the groceries in the cart.
Well, now wait a second. This is dishonest. I mean, I was furious and I am still horrified. I'm pretty upset about the way that Stardust has continued to treat the topic. Destiny has set forth a set of values that he claims that he holds, and then is not actually taking actions that are in alignment with them.
It doesn't seem, based on what I've seen, based on what you're saying now, that you ever get your own way.
In which I was expected to dress very feminine and was insulted if I didn't. I essentially view
Nice
this
one, Jara.
as him saving
My Discord,
me,
not yours.
saving my body from myself. I would say I have moral beef with Destiny.
Okay.
But I also have personal beef with Destiny. If I was a streamer, I would not be particularly trusting towards them. I think people are stupid and think that he's playing a character, and they're wrong. Hello, everyone.
I kind of like that intro tune.
It's
I like
exciting
that.
times.
You sound a bit nervous.
I am a bit nervous. I mean, I don't know how many people are watching. I have specifically avoided watching your stream before this.
Okay.
I will say I peeked in a tiny bit, but I was like, I don't want to know exactly what he's saying, and we'll just come in and we'll be. I don't have anything like ready to spring on you per se, but
Okay.
yeah, we'll see what you bring up, and we'll we'll go from there.
Well, I've been going in on you pretty hard for the past 3 hours, so I'm ready. I'm primed, and my audience is primed to hate you. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Before we get into anything else, do you want to just introduce yourself?
How can they have personal beef? They know that
Sure.
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe they spoke. I don't know. I don't know how they have personal beef.
Yes, so I am Shaelin, the elusive queen of demons, mother of horses. I am the one, the only. So.
Okay.
Sad abuse
Okay.
victim, as some may know me.
Well,
Welcome to Chud
I'm sure we
Nation.
can get to that. But before we do, I've got a very important question that I want to kick things off with, okay?
Okay.
This is probably one of the things that I've seen asked most. So, Max has previously said that he didn't want you involved in any of this. Any of the online space, didn't want you involved, didn't want you to talk in 21.
God, I hate my
So-
hair, dude.
What changed?
I need a haircut.
Well, my perception of things is that the idea of a streamer's girlfriend starting to stream because people are interested in their relationship, or him and wanting to kind of probe into their private life, is a somewhat invasive and problematic concept. And I agree with this. I think that
I was gonna wear my
my
do-rag.
sense of his pushback about this was, one, about not wanting me to make my personality
you,
or
Hoop
career
Movie.
about him, and secondly, partially as a protection for me, because streaming is a terrible job that I think affects people's mental health really badly.
Let's go,
And including him. So I would say,
bro. I need to. I don't know. I need to start getting violent on these like the good old days. I need to start debating everyone that breathes on everything. The problem is people feel more insulated than they ever did. So like I have to reach into separate communities a lot more. Because apparently I'm the only person that doesn't have massive negative mental health shit. That's not true. There's plenty of people that are whatever. But I'm apparently the only, it feels like I'm the only person that doesn't have an anxiety attack whenever like Destiny says anything bad about them, or somebody they're debating says somebody bad about them, or something bad about them, or Reddit says something bad about them.
That is my interpretation of his pushback, in addition to just kind of wanting to have his own creative sphere
want violence.
that I am not taking part in,
I
which
want
I
violence.
think is perfectly reasonable. At the moment, I think I am at a place where I am very fed up with
What you fed up
being quiet about
the silence. You're fed up with the
this community
silence.
who have relentlessly talked not just about me, but about people I care about in ways that I find reprehensible. And
Set the
I
record
have
straight.
watched probably hundreds of hours at this point of streams and have a lot of thoughts about them, but I don't
You haven't participated
I don't
yet.
necessarily want to be a political streamer, so I feel like I've bit my tongue somewhat about these issues, and I am a bit fed up with doing that, but also because I am
I'm gonna get some shit for
also
behind
now
me, Fino. I am.
in some ways pursuing my
Promise.
own tangential career of making my own artwork and illustration and comics that are in some ways connected to this because Max is a character. I felt that perhaps saying hello to this community who has been supportive of my work would be a good time for that.
Sure, okay. So it sounds like initially you ceded this decision to Max, essentially. He said it had to be that way, and you went along with it. Is that a fair characterization? Or did you also, contribute to this decision?
Well, the idea that I was not streaming because Max said so is not accurate.
Okay.
And also somewhat sexist. I've seen these comments and they make me very pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Hold up.
Said so is not accurate.
Okay.
And also streaming. Well, the idea that I was not streaming because Max said so is not accurate.
Okay.
And also somewhat sexist. I've seen these comments and they make me very pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's assumed
8K
that I am
subs.
trying to be
Thank
a
you.
streamer.
Got
or
it
wanna-
live. 8K subs. True. Thank you for the 8K subs. Yeah. I don't know exactly how many, but ever since I started streaming, obviously sub count has gone up pretty dramatically in comparison to just posting the videos. So thank you to the people who are subbing.
To be a streamer and Max didn't let me. And I don't think that's what it
Didn't Max say that he didn't want to expose Shaelin to the internet was to insult her? Didn't want to expose. That's what I remember. Interesting eyes.
is. I would say that I personally am not terribly comfortable being in the public eye.
Chat, what are we thinking? Do we want to play Dark Tide while we listen to this? Or do we want to just listen to it straight? Do we want some background video gaming? Or do we want... I don't know how well it will go. Actually, you know what? We're going to wait till like 20 minutes in. Some more people are in, and we're going to do a poll.
I have a lot of difficulty at times.
Factorial.
Like speaking about my thoughts and ideas. I'm more comfortable in writing, as some of you may know from reading my Twit longer and things like that. But
you won't be able to focus? Yeah, I worry about that.
As a general rule, I would not say I was trying to be a streamer at the time, and although certainly the idea
Please play a game? Are we going to do it that way? What is it? How much money would it be to get me to play a game? The problem is that's pretty disruptive. Would it be like $40 to play a game? To play and stop the game? I don't know. I don't know what it would be.
crosses your mind when
Thanks for the $5 though.
your boyfriend is becoming notorious in the community like that. I don't think I was like not doing something that I wanted to do. I didn't particularly want to pursue it.
Okay. So we're saying that this narrative... Oh, by the way, sorry, I'm getting a little bit of myself back in the mic. I don't know if it's coming through the headphones, perhaps.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe it is. I can turn you down a little.
My Discord, not yours.
Okay.
I think I can at least.
If you right-click on me and scroll it to the left, it should turn me down.
Nice. You want to talk and see
Okay,
when you
test,
can
test,
stop
test,
hearing
test,
yourself?
test. Perfect, okay. Can you still hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So this conversation around, it's not, it's, your decision, I just max 10 you what's what, leads us to a very important point we need to clarify. So, based on a conversation that happened on stream one time, there was a perception spreading around, discussion about whether or not you had a cell phone. So,
Oh yeah.
do you
Can
have
I pay to slow it down? You can.
Fucker
your
named
own
Destiny
cell phone?
spread that, didn't he?
So,
Oh yeah.
spreading around, discussion about whether or not you had a cell phone. So,
Oh yeah.
do you
A
have
motherfucker
your
named
own cell
Destiny
phone?
spread that, didn't he?
Okay, listen, we don't need to necessarily go down the route of naming other creators right now. We can get to that if we want. But I'm asking you directly, yes or no, do you have a cell phone?
Well burnt.
What do you think
Well,
the answer to this question is, Chud?
Doesn't matter what my perception is, what matters is your response.
Well, it matters to me. Do you think that this
I'm
is a
trying to be
legitimate
impartial. I'm
It's
asking the questions
stupid.
the people want. Listen, I need to present the case to the alternative. It doesn't matter what I believe.
Trib, no, I haven't.
Okay,
What happened? Trib, should I look at it?
let me think about whether or not
I can't. Yeah, they both did this, but
I want to answer this.
Chud Logic Media Company. I like it. I like the vibes.
Okay.
The premise is so
Please
incredibly
play Dark Tide. Pay me.
stupid and sexist that it's enraging.
Or wait for the poll.
Um,
I don't think it's sexist. I don't think it's intrinsically sexist. You could say it's intrinsically like insensitive towards Max. But the idea that we could reverse the roles even. I think it is possible. If Shaelin was the streamer saying the exact same things Mr. Girl was, I think that there would be a genuine question as to whether or not Shaelin allowed Mr. Girl to have the phone. The implication, the idea that it's sexist is to imply that the only reason we're asking the question is because she is a woman. I did pay you stop being a whore. $5
okay.
to play a
I'm gonna
whole
answer
ass
it.
game?
I obviously have a cell phone.
Okay.
If you think genuinely that I don't have a cell phone, you're a complete idiot. Let me just say that. I feel
Okay.
that there is no genuine reason to think that. I have my own social media presence. It's actually enraging that anyone thinks this legitimately. And yes, I'm very fucking pissed off at Destiny for suggesting that this rumor might have any merit whatsoever and questioning it as if it was legitimate. Fucking insane.
Okay.
Chud?
Listen, what? Well, go on. What is it? You want to say something? Say it.
I'm starting to pen your name.
How long is each round / map or whatever it is in called in Dark Tide? It's roughly 20 to 30 minutes if you win. It's 20 to 30 minutes.
On the naughty list, I really am.
I don't even, you know what? Actually, I should probably just play it because I have no idea if it's going to, I have no idea if my computer is going to be able to handle playing it and doing the other shit at the same time.
I'm not a fan that you're asking this question.
Okay. Let me ask you a question then. Okay. Would you expect me to come in? Okay. Obviously, listen. You and I both know, hopefully, that I'm not. Obviously, I don't think you don't have a fucking phone. I'm not retarded. Okay. But this is a big
See?
question.
Chud knows.
But this is a big question, and it's obviously partly a meme that I'm asking you. I knew. Listen, we're showing how the sausage is made, and you're ruining it. Okay. Obviously, I'm asking you that, and it's going to create that moment. Okay. But obviously, I think you've got a cell phone, and most people watching do.
euros.
But it's a meme question. Can you stop fucking ruining it, please? Sorry for getting angry. I apologize. I need to.
No, I can't, Chud. I'm gonna ruin it. If
Why?
I think there's a blatantly sexist premise, I'm gonna fucking ruin it.
Well, if you don't like sexist premises, these questions are not. You're not going to like these questions. Okay. So.
No, well, I'm just gonna yell at you, and I accept this about
Thank
our
you. We'll get the
relationship, Chud. That's.
But but if you know poly people won't be so civil. Well, I kind of like poly. Oh, Brittany. I know completely normal appearing people who keep their partner's phones away from them. They convince them it's better for them. Her response makes me think he does keep her phone from her. I'm not going to say anything to the effect, but I don't really like the idea that it has to be sexist. I could understand her perspective of thinking it's sexist, just to be clear. But I don't think it is an intrinsically sexist thing to do. It happens, like it can. I'm not going to say it's just as likely because I don't know, but it's I've seen it go both ways, is what I'm saying. Hold on. Let me get some stuff going. Brittany, how you doing, by the way? Okay, I think the volume is decent, so let's get the
most highborn lord to the most basic servitor is dedicated to the service of the god.
I want to make sure that it is.
The Imperium's battle fleets and armies.
Sorry, it takes a while to set this up.
Of the Astra Militarum to the elite space marines of the Adeptus Astartes. Keep humanity safe from alien threats and cosmic horrors beyond imagining.
I wonder why it's not showing up. It should be showing up. Give me a sec. I have a cold from Miami, but everything is great. Oh no. I got some terrible shit when I went to what was it called? Forget it. Is that gonna work now? There we go. When I went to the was it Twitch? No, when I went to the other place to go visit my girlfriend. Call to action in your Game Pass giveaway. True. Well, we'll do that. We'll do that later along the line. I just want to see if I can do both at the same time. First, give me a minute. Pop out window is how I think I have to do this, and then there we go. Then like that. Should we do it? Which way should we do it? Let's actually do it like this with game small. Let's try game small to begin with. Actually, we can't do that, huh? There's no convenient place to put the game. Alright. We'll do the shit small. I wish I could, I might try and cut out the dead space. And do some of that. All right.
Sometimes I'm gonna yell at you for being
Check
sexist.
the volume.
Okay.
I want the volume of the video to be
And
louder.
that's just that.
Okay. Well, initially, I mainly am looking to just ask more generic questions
Can it
about
go slightly
like, the relationship
transparent?
with Max.
Probably.
Appreciate it would be nice to just come on and speak about you, but unfortunately, most people are interested in some of these dynamics. Okay, so maybe another day we can just talk about your art or something. All right. Maybe we can get to it a little bit at the end. 5 minutes at the end. Okay. But one thing I wanted to ask, I think one dynamic that a lot of people perceive is when watching Max's content, it's very difficult to see when Max ends and Mr. Girl begins and vice versa. Do you have that difficulty? outside of the videos as well?
No. I think people are stupid and think that he's playing a character, and they're wrong. So, no.
Ooh, Max
I just
is?
think of him as Max, and that's it.
Of course, Relly's characters. I literally
you're
make my
telling me then
characters
that
black because I am
what we
black
see in the
and
videos,
I roleplay. Literally. That
It's
is
not a
thing I do.
character. There's no kind of excess presentation. That is what Max is. You're seeing the true raw Max that you see when he's off camera too.
Yes. I mean, obviously there's like
is this
certain
so low
videos
quality?
where like he maybe is like, say in the I'm a Pedophile music video, like obviously we were creating staged situations for the video, but I don't think that that's like hard to discern. I think people think that when he gets bombastic, if you will, as he likes to say, that he doesn't actually express himself this way in real life, but he does. I think that the positions he holds are very consistent, and like sometimes he might say
This
like, a
interview is
joke or something,
semi-recent,
but
yeah.
no, I would say generally speaking, no, there's no character, and I think it's pretty obvious when he's like making a joke or if something is staged for a particular like more theatrical video.
But wait a second. You're saying that there is a theatrical element to what's happening. So surely if he's being theatrical in some way, that isn't Max, that's Mr. Girl.
Like in a music video?
Or say the
No,
Real
I
Doll
would just
review or
say-
any other piece of content, a content where he's engaging with you that isn't a vlog that's planned out and has been recorded. That's all Max. There's no kind of theatric element in that. Have I got that right?
No. Yeah, no. All of the interactions that he and I have, any conversations, any
Shit.
fights, none of that is staged. That's all real.
Okay.
I just mean that, like, obviously in the Hi Cuties music video, we're, like, renting out a space
I wanna
and
cancel
creating,
this,
like,
but
an
I think it
atmosphere
fucks
and
shit
stuff
up.
like that. It's not like we're just casually standing in an empty movie theater. Like, obviously that's staged, if you will, but I don't think that comes off as not staged.
Well, if that's the case, I'm a bit confused about something, because when you engage with Max's content that features you, often it features some of the dark, what I would perceive to be at least very dark moments of your relationship, arguments, fights, difficulties that seemingly are created by Max's desire to make, like, say, a sex doll review. But then when you look at your art, there's a very flowery, positive representation of your relationship that, in my opinion, you just do not see.
She was really
the
mad at
content with
Chud
Max.
after this? I don't
what's
know.
the reason for this dichotomy if genuinely what we're seeing in the videos is all Max?
This is a good question. I'm a fan of this.
I'm
Chud.
black, but I make my characters white as a ghost.
Yeah, so
I'm really big whenever a role-playing game comes. I like feeling immersed in literally everything, story or whatever, or an environment. So I always, whenever I can, make a character that is something that I would want to, like, be like or do in a game. I think being a psyker would be cool in the 40K universe. I also think of being a veteran would be cool. So
I think
I might do that.
one thing to keep in mind is that you're not going to see everything about a relationship from one person's perspective, regardless of what they're sharing. Given the scope of the work that Max
I
and
hate
I
elves,
do,
so I'd never be
we
an
take
elf.
pretty
Welcome
different
to Chud
approaches when we
Nation.
talk about our relationship. In some ways, I think that my comic is somewhat of a response to people insisting that I'm abused all the time. I don't see our relationship as being one or the other. I think, although it may be somewhat difficult to see both sides, I think our
Wanna be
relationship
bald?
encompasses
Nah, I
a
just
lot
think
of
I would be.
moments on sort of both ends of the spectrum. And I think that Max's work focuses on, as you said, revealing maybe some of the darker, more uncomfortable parts of the relationship. And my work, at least the comic, does not focus on that primarily. And
Jesus.
I've considered whether or not
I don't know.
to
Looking for
incorporate
myself.
some of our fights The main problem I think I encounter is that it's difficult to represent the conflicts in these sort of short, punchy formats that I write for the comic.
Are the volume
Does that
levels
make sense?
decent?
It does
I
make
don't
sense.
want
I
the
understand
game
where
to
you're
be
coming
very
from,
low.
but I guess the issue for me then would be, you know, why is it that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've not seen every single second of footage, okay? But my perception, certainly based on what I've seen, is that there doesn't really seem to be any of these light moments that you're talking about in your comics in the video. And if you're saying what we're getting is Max, then why is it that all of the content seems so dour and dark and depressing in the dark moments? Where's the light?
Well, that's what he's making.
But you're saying
Like,
to me Max is accurately represented there, and that's Max.
Jesus.
But all we see in the
There's only
videos
me and one
is
other
Max
dude.
being a fucking dickhead, to put it bluntly, okay? To you, right? So
Well-
why are we not seeing the positive moments captured on video if it's a genuine reflection of what Max is? That's quite damning for Max. If what we're seeing is truly who he is, then that's quite
Well,
damning.
no.
And all we got is your
No,
comics
no.
to counteract that.
Oh, wait a second.
Uh-oh.
Because you're suggesting that his personality should be condensed to the content of a video he intentionally made to show the dark parts of our relationship. But just because this video is only talking about this particular aspect of our relationship doesn't mean his personality is fully encompassed in that specific moment. I just feel like that's a gross simplification of anybody's personality to condense them down into a video that's
I
specifically
kind of
talking
agree
about
with
one
Shaelin
thing.
on this one.
Like,
I agree
do you
with
think
Shaelin on that.
your personality, the only thing about it is like semi-ironic sexism? I don't think so.
Well, is that the only thing represented in my content? Also, who's asking the questions here?
Me, bitch. But no, but I just think it's a simplification. Like, it's true what he's representing, that we have fights that are
Game
like
volume
this.
minus 20%.
I'm not trying to say that these fights are in some way good or a prescription for people's relationships, but like that's not the point of the fucking art. I don't know why people are trying to extrapolate this out to the full extent and duration of our relationship. I will admit that we probably fight more than a lot of couples because other people are somewhat conflict avoidant, including me, and Max is not. But I think that, like, you think our relationship is 100% these fights?
No,
Like,
of course
no.
not. Of course not. No, I don't think it's 100%
Jesus
those fights.
Christ.
It
Well,
just
yeah,
is-
but just
There's like
if someone
three
expresses
snipers.
himself in a fight in a certain way, like that's just not the totality of their personhood. And I mean, I'm not even sure which conversation you're referring to, but no, I think that's stupid.
Okay. So, this is a broader question, and it doesn't have to be a piece of content that you're featured in. It could be any piece of content. But what, if any, piece of content in Mr. Girls makes you feel the most uncomfortable?
Did he duck?
It means you are not worthy, Ogren. Like no one got out. Getting some payback.
Oh, I thought I could dodge while I was charging that. Are we still thinking? Jesus,
Like
I
the
thought
take
the video
that he
somehow
has in the
paused.
video, or like because of me or my involvement.
Okay, well, let's split it out that way. What's Max's take? Oh, it could be in a video or stated on stream, whatever. What's Max's take that makes you feel most uncomfortable?
I don't know if it's a take, but I get very uncomfortable when Max like insults people a lot. I think there are times when I can see someone reacting in ways that I have also reacted, and if they're not able to like set boundaries strongly, I get like uncomfortable with that. I think Max is very confident in himself and very confident in his own abilities to set boundaries with others, but I think a lot of people don't have those skills, and so it can be hard sometimes if he is not playing the
cash.
role of managing them and their personality. So I get upset when he starts to kind of like go in at someone and insult them too. I
Okay.
think that's,
What the?
for me, for the content I've been in, I think that's why some of those early fights during the Corona vlog videos were also a bit uncomfortable for me to go back and watch.
see.
At
Yeah,
the
okay.
time, I was pretty upset about them too. I think the concept of it is really brilliant, but I did struggle with the vulnerability of that. And it is hard to be told dozens of times a day that you're being abused and feel like you believe in an idea enough to put yourself out there and then have a bunch of people shit on you and tell you you're too stupid or like to, if you're misunderstanding
The
what's
oversized
happening
hunch looks
and
funny.
can't
You're talking
actually
about the
consent to
ogre?
things. So it's a pretty annoying thing to have happen.
Okay. So,
But yes, I get offended
welcome
too.
to Chud Nation.
The audience is not the only ones.
Okay.
I think they would
Well,
say
I mean,
it depends on
this
the
actually
boundary.
leads perfectly
Interesting.
onto this line of discussion, so we'll go down it now. I was planning to bring it out a bit later, but let's go there. So I noted in one of your videos, believe one of the vlogs, or maybe the build-up review. Anyway, you think abuse is subjective,
Ooh.
correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. So I guess my question would be, how many people need to call something abuse before we should consider it abuse?
Nice haul.
Well, I think that
There's a ammo crate back
I
up
don't
there.
know. I guess it depends on what you're trying to do, or like what the people think should be done about it. I guess. I mean, the main thing I would say is if the person who is experiencing the abuse or whatever wants to be in the situation, I don't think there is much you can do.
Correct.
Depending on the severity. I mean, if someone's getting like beat to shit, yes, someone should intervene.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess I feel like this is I see the path we're going down here. And like,
I gotta say, with my experience debating, I really don't like when this happens. Hold on. My bad. I modified the size of the window. I don't like it when this happens. People will be like, yeah, I see where this is going, and they try and like navigate around it because they feel like they're gonna get trapped in shit. And it's like, yeah, you could see where it's going, but in my experience, usually what happens is people feel like it is going in one direction and actively try and course correct. And it usually ends up in shit getting like the whole quality of the conversation going down because they feel like they're about to get trapped in something they don't want to get trapped in. I was trying to play
I
the
see what you're
video
saying.
game.
I don't think if someone, okay, let's put it this way.
I should have just
If
used my
someone
F then
thinks
do it.
that I'm being
Welcome
abused,
to
Am I gonna
Chud Nation.
die?
I think that's a perfectly fine thing to say. I think if you see something that you think is mistreatment of another human being, it is understandable and even encourageable to say something about it. I think if
Damn, he was hacking.
if someone
him.
thinks that you personally are being abused, then you should listen to them. The thing I can't fucking stand, though, is that people want to fucking come at my relationship and say it's abusive, and they can't actually even articulate what they mean. So if I push back on it,
looking for myself, you're saying she's using his points as her own. I don't know what are her points and what are his points. They are in a relationship. They might legitimately have come to some of these points together, unironically. So I actually don't know what is hers or his or whose or what's. I actually don't know. Yes, his name is
at
Chrome.
all, people just freak out. And this is, I'm not even just talking about the audience. Like, yes,
you
I've
imagine
read
him
your
using
stupid comments,
two words?
but I'm talking about people in my personal life who have come to me with concerns, but their approach doesn't actually make sense to being supportive of me if it is the case that I'm being abused. So Like, you have to, if you're gonna come to somebody and tell them that they're being abused, I think you have to be prepared to have a difficult conversation with that person. And that if someone pushes
Dude, this shit
back
is so broke.
about the idea of being abused, I think you have to be prepared to, like, explain your position at the very least, and also be empathetic towards them, and most people just can't do that, so.
Couldn't you say
Okay.
Mr. Girl?
So I guess my
isn't-
question would be, because you mentioned...
Couldn't you say that Mr. Girl might not be of, like, the people that he's gotten to say, like, hey, I wasn't abused or whatever, or refuse to talk to him? Like, at what point do you, during the, you know, and thing that he's doing about Destiny, do you go, like, hey, maybe the narrative that I was trying to build about these people, maybe it wasn't all it was cracked up to be? Because I feel like this could apply to Mr. Girl's current investigation.
If someone's being beaten, perhaps that's different. So does this also apply with that as well? For example, if someone was clearly being beaten, had signs of physical abuse, would you still expect people to go up and be prepared to have a conversation? Or do you think maybe
What just
because
happened?
there's maybe more evidence,
Oh,
you might be able to circumvent that?
No, I think
I'm not
I
getting
feel
the
like thing
frames
with
that I
physical
feel like I
abuse is
should
that
be.
you can see it
Okay.
pretty clearly. I think that because you can witness it in a different way, you can intervene, and it would make sense to me to do so. I think with emotional abuse, which I believe is what people accuse Max of doing with me, it's a bit more complex and a bit more.
His literal
perhaps
heart is as big as my
elusive.
head.
Even though someone can point to something in the video, I have a different perspective of what's happening than
Should
they
I
might.
buy another 15k
So,
WoW gold?
So yeah, again,
Oh,
I
it's up
think
to you.
it's. I accept the idea that people will perhaps think it's abusive, and I think that that's fine, and it's good even for people to talk about it and whether or not it is. As I said, I don't think that us making these videos is a prescription for other people's relationships. And I don't, yeah, I think you should speak up if you think something is abuse. I think Max would agree.
So you seem frustrated by some of the scrutiny that your relationship receives, but do you not think that that scrutiny is like largely invited when such provocative content is being made about your relationship?
No, I think it's invited, sure. I think the thing that makes me angry is when people are not thoughtful about what they think we're doing or making. I think if people are like, this really disturbs me, and I feel concerned that it's abuse, that's different from being like, this guy is
Where the hell is
broadcasting his abuse,
sniper?
he thinks he's so smart, or he thinks he's so whatever. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's some different tones that some of these comments take.
You're talking about between
And,
Destiny and Mr. Girl, Mr. Geek?
That is the thing that pisses me off.
Of course, it invited the
I feel
shittiness of the
like-
public. Yep.
Max and I are both thinking about why we're making these videos. And I think that there's, at times, an assumption that we don't know that it looks bad or something. So I guess what pisses me off is when people imply or directly say that I am stupid for being part of the video or the relationship. I think that to me speaks to a level of not understanding what we're doing. But even if you don't understand what we're doing, that's okay. If you want to understand what we're doing, that's also fine, and I am, for the most part, willing to speak with at least people in my personal life about that. But I think this
What
type
the
of
fuck?
work
Why did it
creates
cancel my
conversations around
attack?
abuse and relationships that I think are important. So I guess I just don't get the dismissal part.
So I guess one thing with this, though, is that there are some people that are in physically abusive relationships that a lot of people will look at and say that's physically abusive, but the people involved are happy with what's happening. So, you know, does that not give them a right to continue on with their relationship, even if there's, say, physical abuse happening, if they're happy with it, by your logic?
What the fuck? It just canceled my attack.
I mean, okay. You're saying if I just know.
What is this game called? Dark Tide?
Because someone told me that someone's in a physically abusive relationship. What should be done, essentially, or should people
Well, this
somehow
often-
intervene?
This is the fundamental.
What he's saying is often inside of abusive relationships, people don't feel like there's a problem or feel like it's a satisfactory problem that they're handling. But it isn't the case. And it's not going to resolve itself. Damn, I'm sucking at shooting right now. It's not something that's just going to kind of solve itself, so. What should we do in those cases is kind of his point, right? I think that's supposed to be his point.
Mental issue is with physically abusive relationships. Generally speaking, there are provisions in place where people are able to easily seek help in those situations. But emotionally abusive relationships are both harder to detect and harder to deal with because there isn't an action necessarily that will lead to like state intervention or something like that. Obviously, with children, it's different because there are entities that deal with even emotional abuse of children. But with adults, we don't have the same thing. So someone could be getting emotionally abused, and if they're not putting their hand up, there's never going to be the same physicality that there would be that would lead to intervention.
Medicaid back here.
Domestic violence, right? And it sounds like your logic is, well, if we're
serious?
happy with it, even though a lot of other people are saying it's not okay, well, you could probably apply this logic to physically abusive relationships too, even though you're giving provisions that say physically abusive relationships are different, if they're okay with what's going on.
Yeah, it's like, why draw a line at physically abusive relationships? It's a good question. Well, you shouldn't. Because
Yeah,
both
I mean,
can be
I
terrible.
understand what you're trying to get at. And I would probably say I'm not sure. Obviously, people have autonomy. If you are getting beaten, I don't think you should stay in a relationship where you're getting beat up. And I think if someone witnesses you getting beat up, absolutely, they should get involved and get you out of the situation. I agree that with emotional abuse, because it's not quite like that, should there be, like, more guardrails in place for that? Maybe. I feel like, off the top of my head, I can't really think of any other guardrails besides people talking about it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, if you... I mean, I guess that's sort of the argument for, like,
What?
consent, non-consent in
servers.
certain ways, or, like, BDSM, right?
Is there Skaven
Here's
in
the
40K
issue, right?
or in this game? No, there isn't Skaven in 40K. Wait. There isn't, right? There isn't. I'm pretty sure it's just the Tyranids that are like the... There isn't, right? Yeah, no, I don't think there is, no.
If I watched a
Dwarves
video
and
of
dwarves
a
and
man
the Skaven
beating the
don't
shit out
exist,
of a
if I
woman
remember
because she
correctly.
didn't make dinner hot enough, okay, I would, it's a bit soy, I know, but I would call that abuse, okay, right?
Right.
Now, I think there's people that are watching your interactions with Max, right, and they are seeing it in the same way. They're seeing it, obviously not domestic violence like that, but they're seeing it as abuse in the same way, and it's as plain as them as it would be to you, someone getting beaten up. Right?
Right.
And the person in that situation may not realize they're being
Oh my
abused. They may even
God.
reject the concept as you have. So if someone's perception is that of your relationship, that's in many ways just as valid as your
Dude, why is there
interpretation of
so many
someone
shooters
engaging in
here?
physical violence. Do you see what I mean?
I do.
Okay.
And that's what I mean, yeah, my perception is if you see something in our relationship...
There's
that
like
you wouldn't want in
15
your
gunners here.
relationship, that's good. Good for you. I don't know. I mean, I guess this brings up the question of, like, if someone sees this and they think this is abusive, what should they
Ooh,
do?
it is actually quite
If
laggy
you see
on the
physical
button push.
abuse, you typically would do something. Either
Jesus Christ.
break up a fight, call the police, whatever you're thinking.
So many
right?
shooters. Why?
But also,
Why
I
there's
think,
so many gunmen?
the questions around emotional abuse, I think, are what exactly do you perceive as being abusive in the situation? And this is typically where, when I talk with people about this, they get stuck because Like, what do you think is abusive about it? Someone's yelling?
Okay, so
Like,
there are sure, there are definitely some things which I think people attribute to abuse, which can happen in normal relationships, like yelling. Okay, and the thing is, because just a spoiler alert, I agree, abuse is of course subjective and contextual, right? There are some examples where a partner could physically strike another partner, and it's not abuse. BDSM, for example, but people will immediately think, oh, that's definitely a sign of abuse, where it could be consensual, right? So the point is, yes, even stuff like that can be consensual and it can be contextually dependent, right? But yeah, when it comes to kind of what we're talking about here, like I say, there's no kind of action that can be taken between you two. I mean, so for example, right, when you're on stream and you're shouting, that can be a normal relationship, right? Definitely. Okay, and there's no scientific way of determining what exactly is abuse. It's all contextual. But there's certainly things that I think people observe in the content that go above just shouting, which people often point to as in a normal relationship, right? So as an example, you know, embarrassing your partner in front of others is a sign of abuse that I think is not common to many relationships. I don't think it's common that someone would embarrass their partner in front of others. That to me would normally be indicative of a more clear sign of like an abusive dynamic. And there are examples where you have said in a video, I'm not comfortable, I don't want to keep talking, I don't want this in the video. You've even requested that something doesn't go into the video, and yet there it is. You were in the video, we were watching you saying it. So how do you explain that?
Yeah, that does.
Okay, so you're talking about the doll review?
Baby.
Now?
Sure.
That doesn't look good indeed.
So I would not categorize. I would not
Where the hell did that
categorize
thing
what
go?
Max does as embarrassing me in front of others. I think there are times when I feel embarrassed, but I don't think that he is intentionally embarrassing me or doing things to embarrass me. So I personally don't feel this way, but I understand what you're saying. So specifically on the doll review, I would say that when I said I don't want to be part of the interview anymore, my internal experience of it is that I was getting overwhelmed with the conversation and didn't want him to push back on me. And,
this is fucked, man.
I say this, and we continue talking sort of under the assumption that
I don't
not
have
gonna
my F.
use this anymore. So I understand that it looks completely insane and terrible.
Oh, well, he
that being
left
said,
and became a bot.
my
The problem is there's so
thoughts
many
about
people
this
with
are
guns
that
here.
because I was getting emotional and I didn't want to be in that position in the moment, I said I didn't want to be in it. But having resolved it, I
What
didn't
the
feel
hell
that
is
way
shooting
anymore.
me now?
So I
What the hell
get the
was shooting
confusion.
me?
I get feeling like he put it in against my will.
I
'cause
couldn't.
I
It
say
was
it
very
in there.
difficult to get to a
but
point where I
I
could
Don't
where I
feel
could
that way,
not be
'cause I
shot
told
at
him he
by
could
somebody.
Use it after the fact, and I don't know.
But that
So
wasn't
I
made
guess-
clear in the video, was it? We don't know that watching that you consented later for that to be in the video.
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
But I guess
it
this is
looks
like one of
abusive.
my issues, is that, you
I
know,
feel like it's provocative framing or something.
well, listen, provocative is fine, but if you're going to be controversial, you're going to court controversy. I find it frustrating that you will court controversy, or Max will court controversy by doing stuff like this, and then it's not made clear, and then there's a frustration that he gets leveled as being an abuser, or there's a scrutiny there, and it's like, it looks like you have...
How can they think Destiny is abusing Mr. Girl, but Mr. Girl isn't abusing Shaelin? I mean, what is he? You would have to make a direct comparison to like a hypocrisy that they're doing there, because just saying that I don't think is enough. Like, okay, I wanted to test the frame rate for that because the frame rate on my end was workable, but I had input lag, which was weird. I wasn't expecting input lag. Maybe it's because it might be because I'm using like CPU or something for the sake of the game, but yeah, it was weird. I was getting input lag.
Said, I don't want this in the video, and then he's put it in the video against your consent. So, you know, yes, there's going to be scrutiny. Yes, there's going to be shitty comments. If you don't want the controversy, don't be controversial. Seems pretty straightforward to me.
Well, what do you mean by if you don't want the controversy? Like, you're saying because I think that people are stupid for thinking this, or because
Well, you
I
voiced
said
the
I'm annoyed by the
frustration.
comments?
You voiced the frustration at comments that you're getting, but then the comments in some cases are going to be happening because you do something, like you don't make it clear that you actually consented for that to go in the video. So of course people are going to make comments that are going to piss you off.
Yeah, I don't expect them to not make comments that are gonna piss me off. I'm just pissed off about it.
Okay.
So I'll probably have
get
to
what you're
start
saying,
streaming
though.
through GPU.
And I
if I'm
think
gonna do
that,
or something.
I think that it's like,
But to be
from my
honest, I
perspective,
wasn't gonna win that. I'm not capable.
I can
of
see
fighting
both
into that
sides, but I
shit.
also
That shit was
have
too
my
hard.
perspective. The thing that bugs me is when people are saying or speaking on my behalf or saying what they think I'm feeling, and I don't agree with that. And then I feel as if because I'm not a political streamer and I am not coming on streams after all of these videos to talk about my perspective, that people can just perpetuate all of these narratives on my behalf that I don't identify with. And many of them are specifically
Man, this gets into the tricky bits because it's really hard when it comes to. Okay, let me put it this way. I would lean back into you're a public figure that made something public and you're consistently making it public. If I make my relationship public and I talk about it consistently and engage with people about it consistently, what's going to end up happening is I'm obviously going to get people that are invested in it, think about it, talk about it, whatever. And if I am potentially abusive in the disclosure of that relationship, people are going to discuss about it. I think they should, and they think they should. But it feels like we're arguing against the things that come with that, which is, you know, I put my relationship out there, people think I'm abusive, and then I try and correct their narrative, and when they don't agree with me, now I'm complaining about the controversy, like Chud Logic was talking about, you know. You don't want to court controversy, don't be controversial.
I think somewhat sexist in the sense that I don't necessarily think that if I was a man, the reaction would be quite as strong as this.
Okay.
It's probably true, but that's that doesn't mean what does that mean? I think we'd still be having the conversation, but I don't think the reaction would be as strong.
Well, let me ask you this. Can you think of a content creator that is a woman that features a man in a content the way that you're featured in Max's content? As a sort of side character? Okay, well...
No.
Well, then there's... Well, if, you know, maybe that exists. I don't want to, like, you know, of course that could exist. I'm not familiar with that. So the point there is that, like, this dynamic exists not just based on gender, but it seems like this is the only example I can really think of this happening in this way. Like, in all honesty, and this is a testament to Max's creativity, I guess, I can't think of anyone that would fuck a sex doll. Or, you know, by the way, I watched that full video unedited for preparing for this, okay? So...
I appreciate that, Chud. I do.
Yeah, you know? And, you know... To be blunt, you know, I obviously don't want to delve into your sex life or anything like that, but to be blunt, I'll speak on what I saw. There's a moment where Max is with the sex doll, jerking off, and you walk in. I cannot think of any other content creator that would do that sort of thing, and especially not a woman masturbating when a man walks in, unless there's some sort of explicit pornographic purpose there. Can you?
No, I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, Sherry, I was gonna say that, like she's talking about that as if the negative is towards the woman. I agree with you, Sherry, that the sexism that she's actually appealing to when she says, like, I don't think we'd have a similar response if I was a man. The answer would be yeah, but the reason why is because we just don't treat men's sexual assault or sexual victimization or abuse or whatever as seriously as women's. So literally, we're just taking hers more seriously. So the critique is benevolent sexism. I would argue in this instance, or in the instance of this shit, I would say, yeah, I'd actually. No. It's not benevolent sexism. Well, I guess depending on how you look at it, it'd be benevolent sexism. So yeah, I would say the way that we treat sexual assault of women generally should be the way we treat sexual assault for everyone, but it isn't the case. So her saying that it's sexist, like, yeah, that's true, but it's not sexist, like, against you. That's like a woman going into divorce court and saying, I'm getting sexist treatment right now. The answer is yeah, but it's helping you. So I'm gonna be right back though. Give me a sec. Man, my hammies are juiced. They are gone.
So you see my
no,
point,
I'm not-
hopefully.
No. I see your point there.
I got ice cream sammies for my hammies.
I'm not saying that there is a comparable content creator. Absolutely not. No one's like Max. But no, I'm saying that in the sense that, and I argued this in my Reddit post about the sex doll review. If I, as a woman, were to ask Max to lie still for my sexual gratification, essentially, I don't think that the pushback would be quite as strong. I think
That's probably true.
a lot of the reactions to the doll review, because people
Again, it's fine if she wants to say this is sexism, but if anything, it's sexism that favors her. I would argue we ought, again, treat sexual victimization or sexual victims as if they're women all the time, but we don't. The way that men get treated like the only way that her point stands in a way that's actually comparable with the argument she's constructing, the narrative she's constructing. Not to sound dismissive, I say narrative as in the idea that she's trying to paint for us, the picture she's trying to paint for us, is if her argument is that we ought treat sexual victims the same way we treat men. In regards to all, like, we should take all the women and treat them the same way we treat men as victims of sexual or intimate partner situations, which is no, absolutely not, as far away from how we treat men as possible. Like, there's a reason why there are so many people that are shocked when you say men and women have comparable levels of domestic abuse. There's a reason why people are shocked, because nobody cares. Nobody talks about men's domestic abuse. Nobody talks about the emotional abuse, the physical abuse that no man cares about. Why? Because she can't really hurt me. It's a slap. It's a slap. She can't really hurt me. So that's the only way that her point, like, works with her narrative. Otherwise, she's literally complaining about having her abuse be taken seriously.
Have said that the doll review is more abusive than the earlier fights that we showed in our coronavirus vlog. I do not agree.
Whoa. Sounds like we got some new content on the docket.
At all about that. And I believe the reason they think this is because they are confused and got distressed by the idea of him asking me to essentially lie still like a doll. But I don't, like, if I were to ask him that, absolutely not. I do not think that, like, maybe a couple people would find it objectionable.
This isn't an argument against the point, though. This is just an argument that people are sexist against men. Cool. Yep. Sexism goes both ways. How does this work with your narrative? Like, who can... And? I agree. And?
If they, like, are anti-sex or something. But I think, generally speaking, the sentiment would absolutely not be that he was being abused. That me asking him was abuse or any of the above.
Correct. And they would be wrong to do that. I agree that sexism exists, but they would be wrong. I think she's implying that just because people wouldn't think it to be that big of a deal, that means that they're right and it's not that big of a deal.
I view that fight as being about how to talk when we're on camera, which we didn't agree about, which is why...
No, it's weird. He didn't agree about that with Mr. Girl. Thing they did agree on, that you should like the damn stream, okay? That's what they did agree on. Like the damn stream. It helps me provide more consistent content, grow the reach of the stream, boost the algo. It's an easy way and free way to support the stream. If you would like to give money, that's great. But if you also want to support the stream, unlike on Twitch, where you have no way really to support the stream outside of giving money, you can like the stream, or both. You can do both if you want to. But I like YouTube for that kind of a purpose, that there's a real tangible way that people can support the stream if they don't want to just give money. If they're here with your time, you're here with your attention, that is your time and attention is worth something on YouTube. It is, and to YouTube, and then they communicate that through to me, through the algorithm. But on Twitch, it doesn't mean anything. Well, the only thing it means is that you can sit there and watch more ads, which I don't have to run. And in fact, it just prompted me, hey, now might be a good time to run ads on YouTube. But I will not do that because I have more control over ads on YouTube. And I'm going to say no, okay? Because ads suck.
I ended up crying because I wanted to continue to make videos together. But we have not come to a conclusion about that.
Well, I mean, this is something else I wanted to get into, but it seems like the perfect time to ask. One of Max's biggest issues with you based on the content is that you have difficulty setting boundaries. So why is it after all this time you still struggle to do?
Her point is that for someone to think that asking somebody to just lay still during sex is abusive, you have to view the other person as without agency, almost like a child. I don't think there was a single person alive that thought that was the problem. I think everybody thought that was weird, but I don't think anybody thought that was a problem. Nobody was like, oh, of all the things you could ask for a woman to do in bed, you could ask her to literally lick out your fucking asshole. But if God forbid you tell her to lay down still, was nobody's point. What the point was is how much fucking distress it seemed to cause her for that request. That was the problem. That it felt like he was pushing for something that was causing like a fucking breakdown for her to be able to do that shit. And he was also saying that like a part of it was that he didn't want her to serve her or something. His wording was horrible. He worded it in just about the worst way you could as well.
So,
Trauma, Chud. I'm like not learning how to do it until like the last couple years I've been in therapy. I don't know. I feel like it's a hard skill to learn. There are times when I can set them more easily, perhaps, but for some people, I don't know. It's not modeled. They have a lot of fear. Maybe they're codependent. That's my issue. And like, I don't know. I feel like a lot, it's just like the psychological landscape that people have generally, but especially women. I think it's much harder for women. We're not, I don't think, as encouraged to do so. So, like, yeah, you have to learn as an adult if you didn't learn before. And I suppose you could say this is a very, like, trial by fire type situation for me to learn how. Which, again, like, you don't have to agree with, but, like, yeah, it's hard.
I just have got a thought that I just want to share with you. 'Cause it's very simplified, but it feels sometimes like women find it more difficult to set boundaries, which means that boundaries sometimes, and maybe even often unstated, are crossed over. Men are better at setting boundaries, but often they're seen as a joke and stepped over and laughed at, even though they're uncomfortable with it. Like, I'm speaking very broadly, but like, you know, I just think to like how it's perceived when a man is accused of sexually harassing a woman. You know, there's a TwitchCon thing that happened, for example, and a woman got sexually harassed or something. I can't remember the details, but it was talked about a lot. An ex-UC got sexually assaulted at a party, and that was not talked about as much. And people even were defending it and saying, "Oh, well, that's fine. He's a man. He probably wanted it." Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
Okay.
Just a thought I had.
I think I'm tracking what you're saying. Can you just repeat like the overall idea one more time for me? I'm sorry.
Sure. So women often find it harder to set boundaries. So it means that boundaries that they sometimes haven't stated get crossed over. And men find it easy to set boundaries, but often their boundaries are seen as a joke and are stepped over and it's laughed about. It's not taken as seriously.
Yes. I would say especially in regards to sex, I think that as shown by the Stardust situation, I think people don't even think that men would want to have any boundaries around sex, or that they do. And
Wait. Cap. What? Who are these people? Wasn't every single person that like heard that story against the narrative there?
so I feel like, yeah, like you're saying, a man saying no to sex or having some kind of.
So I have no problem with the statement Chud made. I have a problem with her trying to, for some reason, tack on the Stardust Cherry situation on that. That wasn't an instant of that because everybody who heard it was like, yeah, that shit's cap, bro.
Kind of standard or thing that needs
What
to
does
be met in
Stardust
order
situation
to
have to do with this? Nothing, but I feel like she just tried to shoehorn it in there.
is absolutely dismissive. It's pretty horrifying. I myself, I would say, am guilty of doing that to people in the past, and it's pretty unfortunate.
Well, let's lead on to the Stardust situation. Obviously, I think we've got a rough idea of your thoughts, but there's two aspects I want to look at. The first is like just to hear out what you've got to say about what happened at the time, your perspective on it. Maybe give a brief description of what happened for people that are listening that don't know as well from your perspective.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So in my view, Max and Stardust tried to have a conversation about why it's hard for women to say no to sex and why they should or how they should. And over the course of the conversation, they talked a bit about boundaries and had a disagreement, when Stardust suggested that she makes men wait quite a while because she doesn't feel comfortable with sex.
Irby,
And at least initially. And then Max suggested that this could be considered a test from the other person's perspective, and then told a story about an STD test in which he didn't want to show the results of the test he had gotten to have sex with this girl. She wouldn't have sex with him unless he showed them, and he said, "This makes me not want to have sex with you anymore if you don't trust me to tell you the truth. Then later, after they had maybe not spoken for a while and Stardust had been a bit cold towards him, they decided to rehash the conversation and see if their friendship could be remedied since they hadn't resolved the conflict.
I don't know the context of that story, so I can't really speak on it. I don't know how long he knew this chick. I don't know, whatever. So, I mean, I'm just going to tell you one thing. I think we can all agree Shaelin's recounting of that story did not do Mr. Girl favors. That story, the way she described it, sounds fucking crackpot crazy, bro. But I don't know the story, so I'm not going to speak much on it.
And then had a large fight with Chud about this same topic, in which I believe Stardust pretty much maintained her position. It can't be a test because it's a boundary, and also decided in this conversation that Max was a huge asshole. And Max said that she had destroyed their friendship because I feel like I'm rambling.
That's okay. Let's focus up a bit if you feel like you're rambling. So
yeah, I'm like, I know the story, but it's like
no, that's okay. We don't.
Something.
Yeah, I know. It's like you've got to explain loads of lore, but like I just mainly just want to focus on just in a few sort of thoughts. What specifically Max did in your words?
Okay.
The reaction,
okay.
and we'll move on from there. And your thoughts on that. Go.
Okay. So after Stardust accused him of possibly flashing her or whatever.
Oh, True Mama, what's up?
By standing up to stretch his back on stream, I was pretty pissed off. My perspective of what happened is that essentially that they both, Stardust and Cherry, were a bit emotionally activated in the conversation. Having been in conversations like this myself with him, I understand that it can be very emotionally triggering, specifically if you are talking about something really sensitive like sex, because I think most of us have quite a bit of baggage around that topic. And I think that being emotionally dysregulated around a specific topic can allow you to perceive another person as being your enemy, or
you are my enemy.
Perhaps being more antagonistic than they think they are being, or something like that. And I think that part of why they started to perceive this action of him stretching his back as predatory is because they felt attacked emotionally or possibly even sexually, given the content of the conversation, because they felt that he wasn't maybe listening to them enough, or maybe they thought he wasn't agreeing with them, and that threatened their reality in some way. But yeah, I basically just think that they got really upset, and it shifted their perspective on the events, whereas if they had been having a nice conversation and had agreed about what was going on, that they may not have perceived it in that way. I highly doubt it. And also, I think that there's some sexism tied up in all of this. I think that for the women, there is an expectation that they are supposed to be strong and emotionally regulated all the time, even when talking about these difficult topics. And I think this is kind of a toxic perspective for women, because it makes it so that we can't be vulnerable about the things we struggle with, or an idea we're struggling to wrap our heads around if it's emotionally activating. And also, I think it's sexist towards men, because Max being a man, Max having a sexuality that he talks about, Max having body hair, all of these things are things that I think are not very accepted. And I think, generally speaking, the accusation, the way it was presented, and the body shaming that came along with it is not something I think you would see if you were talking about a woman, and thus everyone's a sexist.
Okay, so that's pretty thorough and covers everything, I think. It sounds like you've got a lot more sympathy.
How much does it suck that Max's shitty behavior in general can be excused by Star and Cherry's accusations in particular? What do you mean? In what context? Like this? I mean, he asked a specific question about Stardust, the Stardust Cherry situation. So I'm not sure that's what's being excused. What do you mean? The complete denial of any wrongdoing or how Max could do better in a situation is infuriating. Literally nothing is Max's fault and everything is the critics and the woman's being emotional. I mean, in the situation for him being accused of sexual misconduct, I don't think he really did do anything wrong unless I'm misremembering something. You could say that him making them angry in the first place was wrong, but I don't think he did anything wrong, right? He just stood up, did his thing, and he sat down. What was wrong with it? What was wrong with that? I don't think I'm misremembering anything. I don't think he did anything wrong. Okay, wait, so then what do you... Because that's what she's talking about, so what are you guys talking about?
For Stardust and Cherry than perhaps I perceived based on...
Sexism exists, that's true, but wouldn't excuse his behavior. The whole pubes thing was a nothing burger. Right, and that's what she's talking about, though.
On your twit longer, which seemed harshly critical. Is that something that's come with time, or have you always had a level of sympathy?
No, I mean, I talked about in my twit longer that I identify with the experience that I think that they're having. I just think that the what's the best way to phrase this? The weaponization of your platform is pretty horrifying. Whether or not they want to take ownership of that,
true, Mama.
I believe that is what was happening. And
I know what you mean.
yeah, I mean, I was furious and I am still horrified. I'm pretty
Still
upset
horrified?
about the way that Stardust has continued to treat the topic. And
Which is
yeah,
how?
I'm not saying that I'm not fucking furious because I am. I just I don't... It's not that I think they did it for no reason. I think that being that emotionally activated in that way can really distort your thinking. Unfortunately, I don't know that that is something that has been undistorted since that point.
How so?
But yeah, that's what I think happened. I just think that, like, I'm very furious about a lot of things that happen in streamer world. So
Sure.
So even though I can look at the person and be like, I get that they're a person and they're having their own experience, yeah, I think it's horrifying, and I think the way that Max was treated was really awful. And I think too that Max handled it in like a very classy way, which I believe shows his character that I know to be true about him. So yeah, I don't I'm pissed, but like I'm not gonna like dehumanize him.
Sure. You mentioned the way Stardust has handled it since. I mean,
Yeah, thank you, Chud.
Well, the perception I think that's common is that Stardust apologized many times, deleted the post. What is it you're referring to exactly?
Thank you, Chud. Good question. Great question from the brother from across the pond.
Well, first of all, I don't... As you may know, Chud, I don't really believe in apologies either. So I think that apologizing is somewhat insufficient, but particularly...
But wait, a big part of the apology thing there is going against her narrative, though. Her narrative was that she believed that that like Stardust wasn't taking any accountability or changing anything. At least saying sorry acknowledges some measure of accountability over an action. Also, you cannot believe in sorries, but the way to, like, the path to redemption for this like in regards to this, is to, you know, not do this or similar situations where you might get emotional or something, and then you make a statement that is, you know, very out there, very not true of reality, that can cause a lot of damage. So what are we supposed to do then? Just go like, well, fuck it, until, like, that would just be an infinity thing. Like, how long do you wait before that shit happens, you know? Before you, you know, can take her seriously again, I guess. I'm not saying that she needs to right now. I'm not saying it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year. You know, maybe it's 10 or 15 years, but you kind of have to have a system for what what that looks like.
In the way that some people approach apologies. And basically, my sense of it is, I'm sorry, but, which we all know is fucking toxic as fuck. And like, I don't, my sense is that even though she apologized, she has gone back and insisted that actually he's an asshole. I saw the whole stream with Aiko. And like, yeah, I'm not,
I mean, she's
I
entitled
think
to that
trying to
opinion of being an asshole, right?
Yeah,
Like, he
what's
did
wrong?
speak to her at times, notwithstanding obviously the allegations, but like some of the things he said to her, like at one point in our conversation, he said, "I feel like I'm raping you." Like, does that not entitle someone to think they're an asshole for talking to them that way?
No, I'm not saying she can't think he's an asshole.
Okay.
And I'm,
Well, just to be clear, I feel that was like a very emotionally insensitive thing to say.
I agree that that is a, I don't know, provocative thing to say. But no,
No, it's an insensitive thing to say, especially as Stardust was a victim of sexual assault. I'll say I don't know if I should say that, but they specifically have talked about it. So
I lean more
like that's a pretty fucked thing to say.
towards seeing his perspective on this issue. But no, I don't think that saying he's just an asshole trying to provoke you in the same breath as you're trying to apologize, like, no. I don't think that is I think it's a defensive response. I think if you are actually remorseful about what happened and understand the graveness of the situation, you could leave it at, like, I think we disagree and it's unfortunate because I had hoped that Max and I could maybe reconcile our differences, but I can see we are, like, not going to be able to have conversations.
Fuck that NPC shit. That is some goofy stuff. Why? Why would that have to happen? This is unwise. This doesn't make any sense. You can fuck up really badly, make some terrible, you know, case for sexual misconduct or sexual harassment, you know, take a big L on that one, and then still be like, yep, I took an L on this one, but I still don't like this person. You can absolutely do. There is no moral compulsion for you to do this NPC dialogue tree after you take an L. It might be better for optics, but there's no necessity for it
any longer. But I think that this was an unfortunate thing, you know? But no, I don't think that insulting the person that you fucked over in the same breath is quite an apology.
Sure. I guess the issue that I've got with this, though, is that you accept that they were emotionally dysregulated enough to make the allegation, but then it feels like you're being harshly critical of their response to that, even though they possibly continuing to be emotionally dysregulated or whatever phrasing. See what I mean?
Yes. I think if you are emotionally dysregulated, to some extent, it is your job to be aware of this. Now, in the moment, in the fight, I think that this is something that it's easy to do. I've done it countless times. And I think that, unless...
Give me 1 sec. My shit is fucking up. Trying to fix my connection. I hope it'll fix soon. See, I'm gonna check my let me check my internet network. My network is doing fine. I don't know why this is happening. Chud did so incredibly good in this talk. It was impressive. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's happening on my side. It's on my side, the lag. It's might be that my brother is downloading something or something. I don't think, usually if the internet fucks, it like just goes down, so I don't think it's anything like that. All right, we should be good now.
You're taking a step away or a moment to breathe or whatever.
Nope, it's not, but we'll see if it gets better.
It can be hard to regulate yourself. But the reason why I'm less sympathetic towards this is that there has been time, there has been a break. That's not to say that everyone should be emotionally regulated all the time. But yes, if you're making a
No, I
public
don't have the game in the background.
statement, I think you should be regulated enough to understand the way that your statements are affecting the overall narrative. Yeah. It's not like
Sure.
like he's actively berating her in the stream where she is like shouting about what an asshole he is. So yeah, I don't no, I think humanizing people is a good approach. I feel like that's what we have tried to do, or at least what I've tried to do, is like condemn it, but I get why it happened, and I think the thing that I am just more upset about is the continuation of it, the insistence that he is an asshole, rather than that there's some kind of like difference in perspectives, the desire.
I guess they tried so hard to give him an out. Maybe you just don't want to care about it. He legit said, nope, that's not enough for me. When Destiny spoke with Max about him and Shaelin, is it him and Shaelin F? Is it effing? Maybe refresh? Because it's good on my end.
To go on Destiny's stream in an unrelated situation and start shouting about it. Again, I'm not saying that all of these were perfectly like emotionally sound decisions, but like, no, I don't think that's a good approach.
Okay. Another thing that I noted in this conversation is there seems to be what I would describe as a bloodlust for Cherry and Stardust even to this day, where people are kind of vociferously criticizing and almost expecting more, expecting their career to be gone or something like that. Do you think that what's happened is like adequate consequence for what they did? Should there be more, or should everyone just kind of move on at this point? What do you think?
Well, I said this on Twitter. I don't think they should quit. I don't think that like their careers should be over.
You stream off a laptop? No, I stream off a pretty decent computer, man.
For
pretty decent
some introspection. I
desktop.
get the sense that Cherry may have done so, which I appreciate. And I think at first, I did think that perhaps Stardust was doing so as well. I really don't know what she'll do, but I just think that there are some problems there to address, and like if I was a streamer, I would not be particularly trusting towards them. I'm not saying that I mean, people can make their own decisions, but that's how I feel and probably how I would choose to behave around them if it was me.
Do you ever make that Dark Tide room in the Discord? I was looking for it yesterday, but couldn't find it. Yeah, it should be up and available right now, and it was yesterday. I was talking.
So, I think that kind of covers the Cherry Stardust stuff. I wanted to... Now listen, I'm going to be level with you here. This is probably my least favourite aspect because I hate gender stuff. I find it very boring and not interesting. But I think it is important to ask you because it is, you know, an important part of your dynamic and the history and stuff. And then we'll maybe after that get into some of the more drama topics, okay? So, I guess the best place for me to start, what is the story with your journey with gender over the past few years as succinctly as possible?
Well,
What?
I very hesitantly came out as non-binary maybe in like 2013. But I never was super attached to the labels of it and would kind of be a bit androgynous here and there. And then when Max and I started dating, I was leaning more heavily into being more androgynous and maybe I wouldn't even say I was really playing around with pronouns. I would say I had a thought and I thought, no, this doesn't really fit me. But yeah, sort of generally speaking, if pressed on it, I would have probably identified as non-binary. And at the time, I had been in a sort of questionable place mentally, and I was considering taking hormones to look a bit more masculine.
Oh, yeah?
And this was very early on for our relationship together. I think we had only been dating for like maybe a month.
Damn.
And I told Max, as like the first person I had really run the idea by about the hormones. And he immediately recoiled and was like, this is a terrible idea. And I'm angry that you are wanting to take these like destructive actions towards your body.
Jesus.
And I was super fucking pissed. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely not a socially intelligent way to handle that.
Absolutely hated that he said that. He, at the time, was also not wanting to call me by my shortened name Shay, which at the time I had been using. I don't use it anymore. And I was really angry that he was trying to insist on using my full name and that he was saying this. So basically, I listened to him about why he was saying it, which was that he thought I had a lot of internalized misogyny, that I hated being a woman, understandably, because there are a lot of things about being a woman that really sucks, but that he felt that I had not resolved this, and that was why I was wanting to be more masculine. And I identified with what he said, and I was like, well, I hadn't really thought about it like that.
Really?
So even though I was really upset that he was not yes-manning me.
Really? You hadn't thought of that? Really? Really? That's not... Bro, this is level 1 shit.
I felt that it was something to consider, and I think over time I have become even more firm that I believe I would have gone down what would have been a very destructive path for myself in that regard. I don't know if I would have been ever like fully trans per se, but I essentially view this as him saving me, saving my body from myself. And yeah. There's a certain arrogance to him saying that is irritating, but I do feel gratitude for that.
James Dean, no, I don't always think that teens think of this. I didn't think she said she was a teen though, right? she must have been early mid-20s, according to what people were saying, right? When she did this, depending on her age. I was told that she was like 28 or something. They've been in a relationship for like, what, 4 to 6 years or something. So
If
So-
that makes sense.
You had a certain feeling about something. You talked to Max about it, and the outcome is seemingly exactly what Max wanted.
Mhm.
Okay. Is that a common dynamic in your relationship?
Maybe.
ooh.
When
well,
was
I
the
already
last time? Sorry, go on. What are you going to say?
I don't remember.
Okay. So, I guess that, if you've got this dynamic where whenever you have a conversation about something, it doesn't seem, based on what I've seen, based on what you're saying now, that you ever get your own way. Sounds like it's Max's way or the highway. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems like quite a prominent dynamic in your relationship with him.
Maybe. I guess.
Ooh. Damn.
Well, first of all, I want to say that the things that you see are the things that we basically choose for you to see.
Damn, then you ain't selecting well. If we're getting the curated collection, boys, we're getting the discography handpicked. Damn. God damn. This is how it looks on the outside, and you're cherry picking? Tough, bro.
So, in some ways, I would say perhaps it's a skewed perspective, but if
it was a very good question by Chud.
Well, let me think about it a bit more. Is this a common dynamic? I don't know. I mean, kind of. I wouldn't say it's the only dynamic, but yeah, if he proposes an idea to me and his reasoning behind it, and I think it makes sense and it resonates with me, I don't know. Doesn't that just mean we're on the same page?
Well, not necessarily, because what you've just described doesn't sound like a compromise. And listen, it's an extreme situation. Perhaps no compromise was possible. But when was the last time you had an issue that you compromised and met in the middle on, and you both got a bit of what you wanted?
I don't know that we quite approach it that way. Sort of, but it's more like, what do we both need, or what do we both think about something, and then determining if we're going to personally prioritize our own needs or problem solve. But I don't know. I used to be fully in charge of the groceries, and I was getting annoyed that I was handling everything in that regard. And so now he has to select which food he puts in the cart rather than me just deciding everything for us both.
Okay. So on the
But
one
I- so
side, you've got this big issue with your gender that you're trying to deal with, and you have this conversation with Max, and eventually it transpires that he gets everything that he wants, but on the other side, he now puts the groceries in the cart.
Well, now wait a second,
Yeah, the framing of this.
Chud.
Yes?
This is dishonest.
It's not dishonest. The problem is she didn't give a comparable example. Like, is it not charitable? Yeah, but like when you give groceries in comparison to literal your trans identity, it's a hell of a juxtaposition. Like, if I'm like talking about how my girlfriend fucking decides you know, what school I go to, what I study, or like whether or not I'm in tune with my Mexican culture, my Mexican heritage. And then somebody asked me, okay, then what does she compromise with you on? And I go, well, like, one time I made her go with me, and one time I made her go with me and help me pick out what kind of, or I made her pick out what kind of furniture that I bought because I didn't want to do it. It's like, I guess furniture's expensive. Is it as expensive as like in as deep as your education or your heritage? Maybe not, but you know, it's like the juxtaposition is, you can feel it, you know? Like, oof.
How so?
Well, you asked me when was the last time you compromised, and that's the one that comes to mind. I'm not suggesting that.
Right. Well, can you give me another one that is perhaps more substantive than fucking groceries? Is that possible?
No, because I feel like
that's pretty crazy.
no, I let's say this. I get where you're going. I get what you're trying to do.
Listen to this. Listen to how they're described. I get what you're trying to do, implying that he's being sneaky about it, or that he's trying to trap her in this situation. I don't like that, and they're probably going to get defensive about it. But
what do you think? Wait, what do you think I'm trying to do?
I think you're trying to point out that there's a perception that I am not my own person, and that in some ways there is a mind-melting, hypnotizing thing that he's doing where he explains his ideas to me and it changes my mind, and bing, I can do what he wants. And I think that that is a valid criticism. Chud?
Isn't that literally like the abuse? That's where the phone thing comes from. That's literally where the phone thing comes from. If that is a valid criticism, that is unironically where the phone thing comes from. It's not because nobody thinks that Shaelin actually wants to have a phone. I don't even think there's very many people that even believe the phone thing. I don't know. But like, the meme came from the fact that if you look at their relationship, it looks like Mr. Girl is really good at getting whatever the fuck he wants. And when people are really good at getting whatever the fuck they want, they could do, and they often do, some pretty cringe shit. Relationships should be two-sided. They shouldn't be so one-sided. That's literally, like, so when she's like, I am angry that Destiny perpetuated the phone thing. Destiny didn't have to do shit for that phone thing. Because when people look at your relationship, it's like, damn, this bitch even got a phone? Damn. This chick can be talked out of drinking water by Mr. Girl is the perception. I'm not saying that's true, but that's the perception looking into some of this.
And I would say I don't know. As I said earlier
True,
in our
mama, watch
conversation
yourself. You might get canceled.
about my psychology, I do struggle with codependence. I wouldn't say that Max is taking advantage of this in an overarching sense, but does it benefit him sometimes? Sure. In this regard, on the issue of gender, you could say Shaelin was so codependent that she changed her gender to suit Max. Like, fine. I think that's an argument you can say, but I don't agree with it. And I think that,
why?
like, me being in therapy to try to work on asserting myself more, trying to find out what my personality looks like in a relationship where it doesn't have to revolve around the other person is something that I am building, working on. So yeah, I mean, I can be vulnerable about that. I find it irritating in regard to this particular decision. Maybe that's just internal defensiveness, but yeah, I genuinely think that I, at that point, had not gone to therapy. I didn't see myself quite as clearly as I do now. And I'm glad that he pushed back on me, whether it was my codependence or not, that made...
To be perfectly fair, if you agree with the idea, because I'm not completely sold yet as much as people would like me to be completely sold. I straight up haven't seen a lot. Because, bro, relationship shit, I don't care. I don't care, man. It's the worst kind of fucking... I just don't care about people's relationships. I don't give a fuck. I do not care. But I probably should, because it's very important stuff to discuss about and it's very relevant to people's lives. But I believe that if you are trying to make the argument that Mr. Girl is really good at making arguments to Shaelin or convincing Shaelin to do what he wants to do, I feel like this exact story tracks really well with that. Because according to her, it was at the beginning of the relationship. And I think if you start a relationship, especially one that's gone on this long, if you start a relationship off with a extremely large decision like your gender being made, and then essentially the narrative that Mr. Girl is controlling Shaelin is aided by the idea that Mr. Girl might feel vindicated off of the first really, really big thing that he convinced Shaelin of, which is to not transition. I think that fits that narrative pretty well, right? Because if you are somebody who is controlling in a relationship and trying to prevent or trying to say that or convince the other person that you always know best, having a baseline of one of the largest decisions a person can make, you arguing them out of it and them being like, oh yeah, you were so right on that. Yeah, big W, fat W at the beginning of the relationship absolutely sets the tone for the rest of the relationship. So I think her recounting of this story does a lot for the narrative that she's actually trying to avoid, which is that Mr. Girl always gets his way, or gets his way when it really matters, at least. Weirdly enough, what he kind of accused Destiny of. But I haven't seen personally enough evidence, because that is a very bold claim. Maybe I'll see enough evidence by the end of this video to do that, but I don't know.
Me hesitate about it, because I think that at this point, my feelings about this have really solidified. And I do have my own thoughts about non-binary people and trans people. I mean, you saw me in your chat the other day. Geek. But
you sounded like Matt Walsh.
Maybe I am.
Okay.
But no, I
Oh yeah, can I say this as well? I feel like well, I mean, didn't Mr. Girl overtly say that part of the reason why he thinks that I forget what Mr. Girl's original opinion on trans people was. Wasn't it that it's a delusion and that most people through proper consideration can change their mind on it, and wasn't using Shaelin as a point of reference for that? I feel like that also boosts the narrative that is being drawn there, that is being drawn in this situation. That he is taking one large moment where he convinced his girlfriend to not transition, and he's trying to broadcast that and superimpose that on fucking every single trans person that exists. And I feel like that fits the narrative that he would take that moment inside of their own relationship and go and think, yeah, maybe I do know better. Maybe I do know better. It definitely sets the tone, right? I think that's an undeniable thing, is that it sets the tone for the relationship.
That it's valid to say that perhaps my personality is not as fleshed out or something as people might like. And I get that. And I think that is actually quite valid. And I think that Max encourages me in some ways, and in some ways he benefits from this feature. I think we're aware of that, and that's something we are working on.
Okay.
So
one thing that I noted, particularly recently reviewing some
Jake Allen, I think you're right.
of these videos, is there's almost a direct line you can draw where a few years ago, you know, you were definitely presenting as more androgynous, and now clearly you're presenting like a lot more feminine. Is this like a conscious choice that you've made in your presentation that kind of goes along with your path through your different perspectives on your gender?
You know what's weird about the presentation thing? Because I'm seeing what he's talking about, that there's been a significant transition in the amount of people that are choosing to not like the video. It's kind of weird. I think we should all be trans-like, okay? Like the damn video. Okay. Like the damn video, okay? If you want to see more content like this, especially covering some of these old shenanigans. Not this. This is actually fairly recent, but like I might look deeper into their relationship on stream, like some of their old videos on stream if I can. But like the damn video, okay? It's free, completely free to you. There's no cost or anything, but it helps support the channel, get new people engaged, get new people in here. Helps me a lot. But also, I'm going to shout out the fact that when I went to TwitchCon, I went to the Xbox booth where the lovely people at Xbox gave me 12 free passes to give away on my stream of Xbox Game Pass, 1 month passes. They're only usable in the US, and I'm going to be giving them away on November 28th or 29th with the express purpose of getting you access to a game called Dark Tide, which I believe will be dropping day 1, November 30th, on Xbox Game Pass. If you're like, I don't have an Xbox, why would I use Xbox Game Pass? Funnily enough, even though the name, Xbox Game Pass is also a PC service. What is the service? It's Netflix for games. That's literally what it is. They register certain games with their company, and it gives you access to play them for $10 a month, normal fee. If you're a first-time customer, it's like $1 a month. This isn't an ad for either Darktide or Xbox Game Pass, but I was given the codes for free with the express purpose of giving them away on my stream. But I'm not paid in any other way or anything like that. I just really like the product. I've been using their product for a very long time. On Xbox Game Pass, there's the entire Fallout series, Fallout 1, 2, Tactics, 3, 4, 76. There's the Doom games, Doom 2016, Doom Eternal on there. So really great games, really enjoyable stuff. I highly recommend the product. It's really good. So, there you go.
Well.
Oh, yeah, Slime Rancher, too. They have Green Hell. Do they have Green Hell?
I think that part
giveaway
of
through
what
Discord.
I
I haven't decided the medium that I'm going to do the giveaway through, but I'm going to be deciding very soon.
Pushing back against at the time.
Of course, no purchase necessary.
And part of why I was
Otherwise, it's
really
literally
leaning
illegal.
into my non-binariness or whatever was partially because of what I viewed as a toxic relationship dynamic previous to Max, in which I was expected to dress very feminine and was insulted if I didn't. And so I was pushing back against this pretty hard after that breakup, and I think it was a confusing time for me. That's not to say that I hadn't been thinking about gender before this, but I would say at the time when we got together, that was like very at the forefront of my presentation.
Do it in video
At the moment, I think my presentation has gone through some phases. I think the last couple of years has been a real journey for me in trying to I don't know, like reconnect with my body and my self, I guess. Which sounds a bit cheesy as I hear it coming out of my mouth, but I think that's pretty true. Like, I was very obsessed with like dyeing my hair and, you know, wearing like a ton of makeup. I did wear makeup for this interview because I was too anxious not to, but generally speaking, I don't really wear it, and at the moment at least. And yeah, I felt like these realizations that I was sort of using these things as like coping mechanisms for myself and like constantly redefining myself through all these things, it was like important for me to try to distance myself from that. So like growing my hair out in a natural color and things like that. So so I think that part of that is just coming to be more comfortable with my femininity. That's not to say that I don't dress androgynous, because I think I do, and still at times. But I think I'm just more comfortable with that feminine side, so it makes sense to me that it would come off that way.
Sure. Question about
Damn,
your
that
previous
was long-winded.
relationship without going into detail. Did you consider that abusive at the time, or was it only later you came to realize that?
I guess at the time I thought it was kind of fucked up. And I believe in the relationship I started to dress androgynous on purpose to, not to like provoke him, but to like force him to accept me or to not, basically. And yeah, clearly that didn't work out. But I think I did recognize it as a problematic dynamic. I'm not sure I would go so far as to say it was like full on abusive. I mean, it was shitty.
Okay. Do you think there's any parallels whatsoever in any of the stuff that Max does in regards to you?
Like insulting my appearance? Absolutely
Sure.
not.
Okay.
No. Absolutely not. I feel like no, I feel that we have taken a pretty intentional stance about like accepting each other's bodies, and like we don't, I mean, people get pissed off about the compliment thing, but I feel as if this is an addiction for a lot of women.
Oh yeah, the compliment thing. Didn't he say he doesn't? Man, I don't remember what he said about compliment. That shit was weird though. What I heard about. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember it being weird.
And I am immensely relieved to not have to think about whether he's judging my appearance. So yeah.
So that is true then. So that in your relationship, neither of you compliment each other on appearance at any point.
Correct.
Even
it's not just we don't compliment, we don't
Okay.
comment on each other's clothes, each other's hair,
Okay.
or things.
Wait, wasn't it literally in the doll review? He said he doesn't like it when you wear makeup.
Things like that.
Whose idea was that, by the way?
Is she gonna say both of ours?
It was his idea.
Okay.
I gotta give her points. Either she's not very smart, or she is trying to be very honest. I gave her points on that one. She's definitely. Those are the two options. Either she's being honest and she doesn't really care for the optics, or she's quite dumb and doesn't realize the optics. So I'm gonna assume that she's being honest because I have no reason to believe she's being dishonest.
Okay,
Interesting.
Chud. Don't give me that sneaky fucking smile.
I'm just
I fucking
asking
see
the
your
questions
face.
that need to be asked,
Oh,
okay? I'm Andrew Neil right now,
just
and you're Ben
asking
Shapiro.
Questions.
Exactly.
I'm just asking questions.
That phone shit. I'm sorry. How could she be confused about where that phone shit came from? Give me one quick sec. Thought that was my doctor.
Okay.
Somebody called me. I thought it was my doctor.
Okay. Right. Sorry. Let me just bring this up quickly. Okay. So, in terms of the main pieces of drama, I guess that you and Max have been involved in primarily, I feel like that more or less covers the main points I wanted to get to. We'll get to a question segment as well a bit later, but I wanted to give you a bit of an opportunity. Just have a bit of time to, like, you know, drama post a bit, okay? Nothing to do with my own concern for my own content and viewers. This is purely for your benefit, all right? So, we need to address the elephant in the room. Obviously, Max has been for a very public thing with a big content creator known as Destiny recently. So, I want to make it broad so you can, you know, elaborate out. I'll just ask, what are your thoughts on Destiny?
Go ahead.
Well, I would say I have moral beef with Destiny,
Okay.
but I also have personal beef with Destiny. Which I don't think he knows about this. Maybe he does.
Have you ever spoken, by the way?
We were in a group chat at one point, and he was fucking terrible. Not directly terrible, but just like weirdly dismissive. Max was just trying to like introduce us to say like hello, and he just posted the Sweatstiny fucking meme and left the group. And I was like, what a fucking douchebag. And so
Is that all there is to that story? I feel like there's probably a little bit more to that story. As a note, this interview was the day that Destiny revealed that Mr. Girl was doing the investigation.
I'm personally offended by this. I'm personally offended by him pretending like the fucking cell phone thing had any merit. It's not fucking funny. It's fucking annoying.
Dude, literally, this interview gives the cell phone thing more merit. Literally, anybody that was like, I don't know about this cell phone thing, at the end of it, they're like, definitely, I don't know about this cell phone thing, bro.
And I know he's not that stupid, so it's just stupid. On a general note, I think what he is doing is immoral, and I have a lot of problems with it because I know that he's smart.
He said he added her as a friend and then left the group chat. He thought it was just to connect friends and not actually in a group chat. Oh, okay. He said he was under the understanding they were put in a group to send a friend request. Okay.
So I feel that he
That he thought the norm was add people in chat so they can add them as a friend in Discord. So he entered the chat, added as a friend in the Discord, and left. Wait, so there was more to the story. It's that he joined the group chat, dropped the Sweatstiny, sent her a friend request, and then left, right? I feel like that's a pretty important element to that, because what it sounded like is he joined the Discord, popped the fucking Sweatstiny, saw that she was in there, and just left. Like he was running from her. But in reality, he popped in the Discord, dropped the Sweatstiny, fucking sent the friend request, and left. I feel like it's pretty important there. Because the implication, does that add anything? Yeah, absolutely. The implication is supposed to be that Destiny came in, saw her, and was like, yeah, I don't really want to talk to this bitch, and left. But that narrative squashed, considering he sent her a friend request, that way they could start DMing each other. No? Isn't that... What? Okay. What was the reason for her saying that he was an asshole for doing that? The reason why is because he was rude, didn't want to talk to her when Max introduced them. But that's not true. That's why he sent the friend request, is that way they could talk.
should be able to see this if he has a moral compass, which I am now questioning whether or not that's true. But yeah, essentially,
Once the video or project ended, Disney left the chat. He said they became normal Discord friends after he left. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so then there's even more to the story than the original thing, then, if that's true.
if you
If it was me, I would say hello at least, you know? Oh, yeah, I 100% think that he was socially inept in that situation. That's absolutely the case. But I don't think that was her framing. If her framing was that he was socially inept, it would have been fine. But the framing that she put up there was that he was, like, rude and mean.
have a platform,
Like he was an asshole for it.
believe that it is your duty to create an atmosphere that is safe for guests if you are going to talk to people. I also, to some extent, believe that you should create a safe environment for your fans to some degree. Obviously, different content is going to be talking about different things. Different people have different ideas about safety. I personally disagree with his approach here, and I think it's incredibly toxic. I guess in an overarching way, I have a problem with streaming in general. I think that there are so many blurry boundaries and lack of guidelines that no streamer is really protected, which is kind of a problem overarchingly. That being said, I don't blame that it's in itself on Destiny. However, I think that as sort of one of the largest figureheads of the political streaming sphere, he does have an obligation to the people around him to create a somewhat safe environment for them. And I'm not saying that, like, again, in my relationship, we shout and call each other names sometimes. I'm not saying that you can't do things like that per se, but I think that if you are going to create an environment that fosters these like vitriolic dog piles, and if you are going to be talking about people extensively kind of behind their backs and shaping the narrative in the way he can because he is so looked up to, that yeah, you have a moral obligation to the people you're bringing on. And like, as you pointed out, part of people's concern with Max's content is they think that he is publicly embarrassing me. And I don't think people are extending that to Destiny. I think that people are publicly humiliated constantly as a result of how he runs his platform and his subreddit.
What? Wait, they're doing that to themselves, though. Literally.
And I think it is pretty reprehensible that he is...
Often it's actually not... Often it is not even him doing it. It's like recently, especially, been like, orbiters debating other orbiters.
not owning that and not taking...
Wait. Where were they? Hold on. Where is all of this positive... Where is all of this anti-Destiny community shit? Right, because they're big on anti-dogpile. Where was their anti-dogpile mentality when there was a bunch of people saying that Cherry and Stardust were massively in the wrong about what they said about Mr. Girl? Because I haven't heard them complain about that. They've complained about other shit, but like every single person I knew of in the fucking Orbiter sphere was against Cherry and Stardust on that. Every single person was. Like, where is this like the dog pile, the thing that they're talking about is people are allowed to disagree with you in the Destiny sphere and then talk to you about it. And so that makes it a dog pile because there's a lot of people in the sphere. Because Cherry and Stardust were against Max in this situation. Well, that's kind of my point is like, that's kind of what I'm getting at though, is that I feel like we use dogpile for just, I'm in the spotlight this time in a way I don't want to be. You know what I'm saying? They weren't arguing against the dogpile. And in some ways, it seems like Lav and Mr. Girl were of a mind where they wanted more dogpile. Where that call was happening between Mr. Girl and Cherry, or that disagreement was happening on Destiny's stream, and then anybody reasonably was like, yeah, you know what, that Mr. Girl is handling us, he's handling us well, he seems to be of the correct position. And then Lav was fucking jumping in and freaking out and was talking about how it was, didn't Mr. Girl say that he wanted Destiny to butt in on it as well? Didn't Mr. Girl say that? Am I wrong? I might have to re-look at that. But I thought Mr. Girl was upset at how silent everybody else was, or that Lav said that Mr. Girl said that or something. My Discord, not yours. And yeah, it felt kind of weird.
Steps to at least support people in the fallout of that if he's going to insist that's how it's run.
He was mad at him for not intervening more, right? Which to me is like him just saying you wanted a dogpile on Cherry. Because Lav was going way too hard, and if you wanted somebody on top of Lav, oh my god, Jesus Christ. That was just a shit show. That would have been a shit show. But it's the right call. It was the right call for everyone else to just kind of stay quiet for the most part because it was being handled. And it would literally look worse the more people that got in on that. Destiny has an obligation to prevent dogpiling of his orbiters by dogpiling on other orbiters. Well, it's just, I think it is, most consistent thing I've ever seen is people complaining about dogpiling when it happens to them or somebody they like, but not dogpiling when it comes to other people. That is the most consistent thing I've ever seen. Hassan said it, Vosh said it, everybody fucking says this shit. Oh, I was harassed, I was dogpiled by his community. But as soon as their community agrees with them, they're like, yeah, based.
And so yeah, and I did write a subreddit post in Max's subreddit about this comparison between like the doll review and what I think Destiny is doing. But yeah, I think it's pretty disgusting, and that is part of my reasoning for not wanting to go on his stream. Not that I think there was a great pull for me to go on his stream in the first place. Basically what he said is that he thinks I don't have a cell phone, and then treated me really weird in the group chat. So I didn't feel particularly inclined to go on anyway. But yeah, I just don't think it's a safe place. And the fact that he is so arrogant about this and is saying in streams that like he's not missing out on any opportunities as far as he knows because it's an unsafe atmosphere, well, guess what? That's why I fucking didn't go on. So fuck him.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
With everything that you said in regards to what content creators should have on Destiny's platform, how far would you extend that? Would you extend that to someone like Nick Fuentes, for example?
I think, well, I disagree with how he platformed Nick Fuentes, but if you're going to be talking to someone like that, yes, I think you should not allow your guests to create like horrifying attacks.
199 likes, soy, who's going to be the 200, who's going to be the 200, who's going to be the 200, soy, like the video.
On their personhood. I don't like him, and I think he's very threatening and terrifying, but like I don't think he should be like treated like a fucking animal. Like, no. I think it is
16 of you tried, only one of you succeeded.
Your responsibility as the host to if you are bringing someone on, you don't have to agree with their takes. You can push back on them. As I said, I don't have a problem with like shouting if you're disagreeing or even name calling, although as I said, I'm somewhat uncomfortable with that as just a concept, but I'm not like morally fully against it. But yeah, I think that it's a pretty horrifying situation, and I do think that it limits your ability to actually engage with people with different perspectives, and people who are not part of this very insular community because people don't want to fucking put up with that shit. I'm fucking not. I'm not saying I'm like the end all be all, but I'm sure as fuck sure that someone else might not want to put up with it either. So.
One thing I'm interested in all of that then. So you mentioned your concern is people being treated like an animal. What specifically did you see that you felt was, say, like Mr. Girl or maybe another content creator getting treated like an animal?
I think that mods should not be aggressors. I feel that mods should be boundary holders, but there is a blurring of boundaries there where these mods are being aggressors towards people that they particularly don't like based on these streams. And I think this, one, affects their ability to moderate effectively. But aside from that, I just think it is a I want to say toxic, but I don't think that's descriptive enough. I guess it's just like creating a emotionally violent atmosphere for creators, because you can't, there's no way to be vulnerable about your opinions, about your self, and be self-aware if you're going to get relentlessly attacked, and the team who is supposedly there to create the atmosphere for others are actively perpetuating the violence by sending like aggressive messages.
All right, I'm going to make a pushback that I haven't really made earlier, that I haven't really seen very many people do. A part of the the issue is we're taking a hypersensitive approach, and this isn't to say it's a bad thing. It's literally what they're arguing as a good thing. A hypersensitive approach to individuals inside of engaging with Destiny's content. Essentially that, hey, I'm a streamer, small streamer. I want to be in Destiny's audience, and you need to consider my feelings get hurt when I get dogpiled for saying stupid things. So, and I don't like the framing that this is just always a good thing. This is definitely not always a good thing. In many cases, it could be a bad thing. And I would argue it could have, as described by what I've heard the arguments that Shaelin has been making, and also to an extent Mr. Girl, definitely Lav, it would make this debate sphere just terrible. I think it'd make it bad. And the reason why isn't because it's like less blood sportsy. It's just less ability to be able to have input. If they had it their way, because this is what I was talking about with it was the brother Smith was his name. And he was like, I don't like the dog pile Lav is under. Okay, so then you have no solutions for me. What is your solution to this problem? Somebody comes in, says some stupid shit like Lav does, and there's 50 niggas waiting in the waiting room to say something about it. What do? Do you just have them filter in one by one by one by one for the next 3.5 weeks? Do you have it when she's on her own stream? Do you enforce it, or when she comes onto your stream, you enforce it so there's only one person that engages with? Like, this is fucking stupid, this idea. If you enter a chat room full of 7 people, right, and they're all able to have a conversation about, you know, X, Y, and Z topic, and one person's able to take the heat, you come in, you say some foolish shit, you're going to get the heat of all those 7 people. It is what it is, man. I don't like this idea that, hey, guys, we can't dogpile, nor can the Reddit dogpile. So we need a maximum of 3 posts at any given time about Lav. So we're going to ban all posts except for 3 posts of Lav at any given time. Otherwise, you provide me no solutions. No solutions to your worldview. It's just stupid. Like, it's an unenforceable, ambiguous shit fest. Like, how are you going to prevent somebody saying something stupid from getting a million DMs to talk, going on panels themselves and talking? Like, I'm not supposed to protect you from yourself. You come on a panel of 10 people. that feel like you're saying something stupid, or 3 people even, you say something stupid, what are they supposed to do? Have 2 people just shut up and do 1v1s? It's stupid.
As towards
This is
lab.
part of the reason why I stopped going on panels, because I actually took personal responsibility. Myself, as a free agent, I took personal responsibility, stopped going on panels, because it was annoying. Well, that wasn't annoying. What was annoying was whatever point I wanted to make being made in a different way that I considered to be suboptimal, because there was somebody on the panel that agreed with me enough that people thought we had the same point, but also not enough to be able to make the right, like, arguments. And so it really pissed me off.
And like banning people because they're emotionally dysregulated. I just think it's, well, I think it's bad.
Could you have a higher quality assessment of the types of hate of the posts are getting made? No, because they're not even just talking about posts. They're talking about being in a chat room with 6 people in it saying Lav is dumb. That's what they're talking about as well, stuff and things. And in the case of what you're talking about, then you're talking about censoring even more criticism. Like, literally, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, Mr. Girl is talking about how Destiny's censoring criticism of him. How's it going to look when Destiny's literally censoring even more criticism, because the quality of, like, shit posts is going to be higher now. The bar before you enter shit posts is going to be higher now. So now he has to deal with the optics of getting rid of posts that fit like that. Bro, it's fucking annoying. It's exhausting to listen to. It's exhausting to think about, let alone to implement. I don't care for it. I think you truly lose something when you lose the ability for Destiny to have 8 people on and then have disagreements. And if somebody says something stupid, all of the other 7 people shit on that one person. I think you actually lose something there.
But I also think it is emotionally destructive, and I would say abusive to people to engage with.
Okay.
And I think and like, as we've sort of established earlier in this situation, like, these people can choose to do that, and I feel like that's one of the primary arguments I keep seeing is like, well, they chose to, they know what they're getting into when they go on the stream, but the problem is that you can't really push back that well. Like, you can kind of ask for different treatment, or you can try to create for yourself a guideline that would not be abusive for you, like you would in a relationship. But they don't do that. It's been proven, I think, with Max, that requesting that a situation be less emotionally abusive to the Orbiters is not tolerated.
Really? You think that? You don't think
Okay.
you don't think it has anything to do with the specific request he made? So, for instance, if I had a request that Steven not allow me to be referenced as, let's say, I don't know. Let's say I was being called a name. Let's say people were saying that I was mixed instead of black, right? Or something. And I felt personally insulted by this. Because I don't have very much response with my mixed identity. And so I was like, hey, Destiny, could you make an effort to not refer to me as mixed, but instead black? Do we think that he would take an issue with that? Do we think that, like, that would be an unreasonable request? Or, what about the example of, well, I'm actually sure I could think of an example of, well, actually, there is an example of, like, people calling Anna crazy. And then he shut that down. There's a while you would get a 1024 for that. I mean, you might still get a 1024 for that, honestly. What else? I think there was at least another instance I can think of where there was, like, a special request accommodated by Destiny from somebody. What the fuck is a 1024? It's a 1,024-hour ban. I don't remember. Hassan would say Destiny bootlicker. Yeah.
But I guess because you're saying that, like, you know, you're kind of trying to disregard the idea that people don't.
If they can't consent to being on stream, can she consent to dating Max? At what point are individuals able? Right, like, I think I understand what she's... I understand it, I feel like, from her perspective, Brittany, and that's supposed to be the idea that, like, because she and her partner, she and Max, and Lav, another person that they're close to, can't seem to handle being in the negative graces of DGG very well, and they don't really like the situation of being in the positive graces. They're kind of... It feels like they're imposing that on other people. And that's my issue with it, is that they're saying that it's abusive, but in reality, I feel like the things that they're communicating, it's just that it's abusive to them. Like, it's not healthy for them to engage in, because they just are not able to handle it. Because there's some people that can and can't handle this specific dynamic. But I don't think every single arena, every single space, every single community needs to be for every single person. And I think the ways that they're talking about compromising it, I would genuinely, if Destiny buckled to the demands of Mr. Girl, Shaelin, and Lav, because I'm not sure they all share the exact same critiques. Based on what I've heard, I would like this community distinctly less. A lot less. I think Mr. Girl thought Destiny intentionally went after him and his fans because Mr. Girl so used to controlling everything that he can't comprehend true mod autonomy in Destiny's platform. No, I'm gonna say that it was because I had a discussion about it. It didn't look great from Destiny's moderation perspective. It didn't look great. I gave explanations, and they were, I think, within a couple hours, vindicated to be the truth. I had a discussion with 2 different individuals about the moderation in Destiny's Discord, and I was trying to give, like, my 2 cents of, why Forethought might have done this, why Destiny might be okay with this. And literally the reasons that I said turned out to be true for both of them. And they were saying that it's not likely that it was the case. And I don't know. It's just... I think it's just different ways of... I don't know, people can engage with certain things in healthy ways, and some people can't engage with those same things in a similar way and have it be healthy. And I think that's the issue.
Have to go on, right? But that's true. You could literally just do your own stream, and the challenge is that you're not going to grow as much. So when you go onto Destiny's stream, it's the double-edged sword, the rough with the smooth. You might get shat on, you might have some issues, but also you're going to get put in front of a big audience and potentially going to grow, which I think certainly is something Max benefited from.
No, I understand that. My argument isn't that they have to go on. They don't. I'm saying that...
What I'm saying it is a necessary component for your growth and the way that you get it and see it in Destiny's channel for you to have a lot of these negatives that they're purporting. So dogpiling because 4 people disagree with a point Lav makes or Mr. Girl makes, or Shaelin hasn't done it, I don't think, or like anybody makes, right? I might make. The dogpiling that ensues. Like, for instance, there was several people that were saying that I was wrong about the me going in and discussing the Mr. Girl being a rapist situation. There was many people that disagreed with me going in there. I'm not going out like, I was dogpiled. And I'm sure there was posts, Twitter comments or whatever, or Twitter posts or whatever, that were saying that I was, like, stupid or in the wrong. But, like, that's literally a part of the thing that I like about the community and that I believe is necessary about the community, is that if I say something erratic, reckless, or foolish, that people will tell me about it, and a lot of people will tell me about it. And a lot of people will want me to discuss about it. And a part of that discussion is the clout, is the gain, is the growth. So when you say, I like that clout, I like that growth, I like that gain of being that controversial figure that a lot of people want to talk with, that a lot of people want to engage with, but I also don't want the blowback of multiple people trying to disagree with me at once. Like, it's having your cake and eating it too, in regards to how I see the critiques that they're making.
Whether or not someone chooses to
Thomas, that might be the case. I don't remember what his position was prior. I straight up hadn't watched the content. Max in his recent live said he only wanted to be unbanned, which is completely untrue with his talk with Destiny. But yeah, that's... do you have a clip of that? Because yeah, that is not true.
go on doesn't actually mean that the system itself is not abusive to those that do.
Sure, okay. So you're saying that they're, the abuse is happening. People are saying in chat it's a bit like Hollywood, right? Like, the system's there. You don't have to participate.
Mr. Geek.
But if you do, even though you're benefiting, you can still call out what you see as the issues within it.
Right. Yeah, and I just think it's very arrogant to say that that there's not a way to do it better or more ethically.
There certainly is. I just haven't heard the critiques coming from, or I haven't heard the critiques that I found substantive yet. But there almost certainly is. But this is the issue too. Just doing it better doesn't mean there is a moral necessity to do it better, right? Because I can recognize, good example that I bring up, I think it would be good for Destiny to not have sex with any of his orbiters. I think Abba shared a similar sentiment, or at least I was told he did. But is he ethically, is there an obligation for him to not do that? No, there isn't. Would it be better? Yeah, things would be less confusing. I mean, there'd be less drama. So I guess some people would be like, no, it wouldn't be better. But I mean, it'd probably be better for everybody involved if that was true. And the orbiters had less sex with each other, I guess. But, the less sex, the better. Because that shit, in regards to that, because that really muddies up our interaction with each other. Yeah, that could fuck shit up. But there's no obligation not to. It just would make things a little bit smoother. And at the cost of, like, somebody's sexual autonomy, their ability to even ethically go about a sexual scenario, my thing to restrict that, I can't do that. I can't go like, hey, Destiny, it's like you're not doing anything with any information I have. You're not doing anything manipulative or coercive in this sexual encounter, but you can't do it because it would make the community have less drama. Like, you can't compel that. That's not something you can do.
Like, that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Just because you don't have the vision or...
The less sex, the better? Hey, listen, man, you heard me say it. But you know what I'm talking about. I hope everyone knows what I'm talking about. There's just less confusion when it comes to this, like, this shit. And it's, like, people can get along just fine without fucking each other. But I can't compel anybody to not do that. Nor is it even an ethical principle of mine, right? Like, if somebody, if like an orbiter wanted to fuck and it was in a relationship, it's not like a ethical boundary of mine where I wouldn't have sex with them. It's just like, would it make things less complicated? Yeah, sure, yeah.
Ingenuity or creativity to think of a way that would be more supportive of people. Or just because you don't want to, because you're fine where you're at, doesn't mean there's not a way that would be better.
It's Destiny's platform. Does he really need an excuse for why he's doing what the things he is doing? Yeah, it depends on what he's doing, because what he could be doing is just straight up unethical. I think we would all agree that if Destiny was actually being manipulative or using any kind of power or authority he has over his orbiters to try and get them to have sex with him, then absolutely I could go like, fuck you. I know this is your platform, but I don't care. You're in the wrong. And so this is why I implore anybody to look into these things ethically. But the problem is, I don't feel like there's very many people who ever do. It's like there's been a bunch of people who try and say that they're going about like looking into Destiny's sexual improprieties, but they're just fucking weirdos that do it in the worst way possible. I just like clearly too much bias for them going into it or something, but they just never handle it right. They're always making weird arguments, but I guess that's probably going to be par for the course for a lot of these things. Like the sexual misconduct claim from Lav towards Hassan. Like, you're probably going to get a lot of the people who make these claims out of nowhere are probably going to be less reasonable people, generally speaking, because generally speaking, this is just not something that happens super frequently. But we need to take every situation seriously just in case it's not unreasonable people, right? This is why, when / if Mr. Girl's shit comes out, I'm going to try and treat it with the utmost seriousness that I can. Even if I don't agree with how he's sourcing the information, if I don't agree with how he's gathering the information, I still have to consider how he's doing it.
For the people around you or for you. Like, it's just arrogant. It's fucking annoying.
Don't you think you're falling into an issue, though, which is where someone else has built a platform up to a certain point, and then you're coming along and you're trying to dictate how this platform should and shouldn't be run based on your own personal views on what it looks like?
Well, I agree that that's happening, but why is that a problem?
Sorry, what happened?
And then you're coming along into an issue, though, which is where someone else has built a platform up to a certain point, and then you're coming along and you're trying to dictate how this platform should and shouldn't be run based on your own personal views on what it looks like.
Well, I agree that that's happening, but why is that a problem?
Well, I guess...
What is the problem with it, I guess?
Well, the thing is like, I'm definitely, I'm revealing a bit more than I should here, I guess, but I'm sympathetic towards the issue. But I just know personally, I would be very frustrated if someone came to me and started telling me how I should and shouldn't do my platform, because, I've built up what I have using my own perception on how I should do things. And it seems to be going pretty well so far. People have complained about elements on my Discord, and often I'm disregarding of that because, that's how I want it to be. I want it to be toxic. I want it to be more toxic, if anything. So, Well,
I think that's dumb, but what I think about this is maybe you should be more like me, Chud. I feel like if someone...
Yeah, that was a good
Here's
Mr.
the
Girl
thing.
impression.
Part of the reason why Max can tell me something like, you are being so misogynistic towards yourself that you're willing to inject drugs into your body to change it. The reason why I am open to hearing something like that is that I am not so fucking arrogant as to think that I know everything all the time about myself and what's right. And so when you take an information, it's possible.
To be clear, absolutely clear, if we are using that line of logic, if we're truly going with what she just said, and we're just trying to interpret what has happened as an argument for what will happen, it fits the narrative really well, because it wasn't that she was so uncritical of herself, or so critical of herself that she could second guess whether or not she was right about that. It's that she was so critical of herself because Max said there was a certain state of affairs that she was able to change the way that she went about her thing. But also, Max is saying this about Steven. So it's not even... So if we want to run with that interpretation, truly, full gas, then that's not really a point. Like, I can't be like, well, I'm clearly critical of myself. Look at what I did when I came to my gender thing. So, like, hey, look, I'm trying to look at this with an open mind. It's like, we're going to use the fact that Max was a key part of that, and he's a key part of this, and for that to be the case, it doesn't lend any credence to your ability to be critical in this situation. It leads to the credence that you're gonna fall in line with what Max says, but like, yeah, I wouldn't have even said this, because I think this looks worse for her if she believes that she believes this, then she believes this. But
possible that you might think something new, or think, hey, maybe they're right, and maybe there is a better approach to this. I didn't realize that this was a possibility. And I think that this is what I find so enraging, is that, like, yes, you can have your own principles. If you really think that the best way to run your platform and your business and whatever is this way, then fine. Obviously, he's his own person. He can make choices. I'm never going to fucking go on the stream for this reason if it stays the same. But I'm not saying he doesn't have autonomy. What I'm saying is that if you care about the well-being of other people, and other people are essential to your business, absolutely, I think it is in your best interest to consider whether or not the system you've built is exploitative or abusive to others. And even if what someone says maybe doesn't have merit, I think it is worth considering and deciding, if it's something that matters to you. I feel like...
Has he not done that? Did he not entertain the narrative that he was abusive towards his orbiters for like fucking weeks? Hours and hours of conversations on his fucking Discord, in his fucking subreddit. Did he not entertain this? Like, how?
As irritating as large corporations may be, sometimes with pressure from the public, they will change. But, like, people's pride is sometimes not something that they're as malleable about as their bank accounts if it's affecting them. So I don't know. I'm pretty shocked by the reactions of the orbiters to defend this action that's being taken against them constantly. I don't know why they want to be put in this fucking hot and cold mess with his community. I mean, I get financially, I get they think that it's going to grow their platform, but I just think it's bad. I think it's bad for them emotionally, and I think it's
Listen, don't project the sleepless nights you have because some nigga on Reddit said you're busted. Don't project that onto me. I don't lose any sleep over people saying I take L's, right? Like, just because you can't take criticism online doesn't mean other people can't. God, I hate this shit so much. Don't project your inability to take criticism or to healthily engage with the internet on me. Fucking hate this shit so much. Not everyone's like you.
Incredibly arrogant to think that there's no way to do this better, to be more supportive of more ideas. Like, I feel like...
Ain't no nigga saying that.
Destiny has set forth a set of values that he claims that he holds, and then is not actually taking actions that are in alignment with them, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it's shitty.
Okay. I guess this leads on to a question. So let's say that Destiny wanted to get you on his stream. What changes would he need to make in order for that to happen?
This is a tough question.
Well, first off, I think he would have to take more ownership of the actions that are being taken by his mods. I feel like he is a bit wishy-washy about this, where he'll say, the mods, I trust my mods, I trust them to make their own choices, blah, blah, blah. But also, when they act in ways that are problematic, you, as the head honcho, have to take ownership of that as a lack of guidance, or perhaps specific guidance that they can do this. So I think, first of all, he would need to take some ownership. Secondly, I think that he would have to put forth a set of like guidelines as far as how he is going to allow orbiters to engage with these conversations. I'm not quite sure. I don't know that much about Reddit moderation, and I don't follow the subs that closely, but my sense is that there's a lot of like shit talking, a lot of like ironic statements or whatever, which I think people like to do, and I think it's stupid. I'm not saying people.
So you're not a
shouldn't be able
fan
to
of the
do
age
that.
of the Giga Chad. You do not like the age of the Giga Chad. Can I just get that on
No,
record?
it's bullshit, Chud. It's bullshit, and you know what? You're bullshit because you fucking pointed out this concept and you fucking do it every day. I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
Wait, just because I deserve something doesn't mean I think it's always bad. I think it's funny. I think it's a good meme. I think it's when it's used to obfuscate people's true beliefs. And if you're too retarded to figure out when someone's being ironic or not, well, that's
Why did he say that?
it's on you, isn't it?
No, I can understand it. I just think it's really fucking irritating.
Okay.
It makes it hard, like, because this is why I'm so irritated by it, is that part of the reason why I was like, I will do this interview with Chud is that I get the sense of like your personhood, and then your fucking Giga Chad Mimi blah blah is like makes it hard because I get when you're doing it, but it just makes you feel less genuine. And I'm like, well, I would like to connect with Chud, but like, how can I do that if I'm like being vulnerable to you and then you suddenly just flip into like a meme? It's shitty. I don't know. I mean,
I've kept it to a minimum. I've been on my best behavior. I was like,
no, I'm not saying you're doing it now. I'm saying it's
But
irritating to watch you do it and then be like, how am I supposed to
Yeah, he's
put
burning
forth
the
my
Lex Friedman
vulnerability
bridge.
towards this topic when your reputation is that you're gonna fucking Giga Chad out?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just bringing it up.
That's okay. I understand where you're coming from. I do. And you find it's difficult sometimes because you're seeking maybe a genuine thing, but then the Giga Chad stuff or people's irony posting makes it difficult to get through that and get to the real deal.
Well, yeah, how can you have a genuine conversation about anything, whether you're talking about politics, or social issues, or whatever the fuck, your feelings? I know some people don't value conversation about feelings. That's fine. But even if you're trying to talk about ideas, no, it just gets in the way. There's like, obviously I have a sense of humor. I am dating Max. He has all these like jokes or whatever, but I feel like there's a certain percentage threshold or something that people sometimes reach where I will get irritated by it. And you're right on the cusp, I must say.
I'm nearly on the naughty list. Okay, I'll bear that in mind.
That's right, I told you. I started penning your name. We're not quite done yet with it. Anyway, back to Destiny. I'm sorry, I derailed us.
It's okay. Derailments are fine. It was interesting. So Destiny. I got one quick question actually in regards to Destiny. I feel like we didn't maybe get to the full point of like what would change, but to be honest with you, I want to get to questions too. So I'll skip to something else because I think this is interesting. So you seem to have a very negative perception of Destiny, but it seems like you're disregarding what Destiny did in the first place to launch Max's career. Do you not factor that into your analysis when it comes to talking about Destiny?
No. I think that this is part of the problem that I see with him, is that I believe it is hypocrisy. I think he is presenting himself as one thing and then doing something that contradicts it.
Let's talk about it.
And I think that if Destiny is gonna do it, then great. I don't agree with the way he's approaching it, because I don't actually even think it aligns with his own values, which is infuriating because he insists that he is like the most ethical streamer and like the most blah blah blah. Like,
Connor, it's a bit
no,
ironic, right?
He's got a huge platform. I'll give him that. But like, no, I don't agree that he is the most ethical and is doing like the best possible job. And even if he's doing a good job, there's room for improvement. I don't understand. It's just so arrogant. I mean, I know I said that already, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you can agree there's room for improvement, but that's not the issue. Is Mr. Girl doesn't protest to the point where he doesn't enter a community again just off of needs improvement, right? Like the level of scrutiny that Mr. Girl was put into Destiny was not needs improvement. It was like, yeah, this shit is bad. This shit is unethical. Like, oh, what? We can't characterize it that way. It was a demand. It was supposed to be seen as a request, but now it feels like it's turning into a demand. Because once the problem is, it seems like Mr. Girl is using. So Mr. Girl used. Let's go through this a little quick. Mr. Girl used the relationship that Destiny has with his orbiters to be able to say that Destiny has an abusive relationship with his orbiters. And then off of that abusive relationship with his orbiters, because he has sex with his orbiters, he's now using that first abuse of his orbiters to transition into the argument of, which would naturally follow, depending on your argumentation in the first one, that he's sexually, sexually or intimately abusive with his orbiters or with people in general. And the issue is that that's never how it was presented originally. Originally, it was presented as, hey, I got some critiques. Then it was like, actually, this is a really big deal. I don't want to be a part of your community anymore if these aren't met. And then it was like, oh, yeah, by the way, it's not only that I don't want to be in your community. It's not only that I have some critiques or that I won't be in your community anymore if you don't meet these critiques, but also if you don't meet these critiques, I believe that you're being sexually abusive. Because if he did frame it that way, it would have changed things in the initial situation. By the way, Destiny, I don't believe that just that these are small, like Shaelin said, suboptimal, like, things that you're running your community well, but you could be better. It was, like she presented it to be, that might have been the initial thing, but that's not what it turned into, and it naturally escalated. There wasn't like a furthering of it, a natural furthering of it from Steven. It was just, hey, got a critique. That critique was like, oh, okay, you're not responding to my critique. Okay, do this or I'm going to leave the community. Okay, you didn't do it, so I'm going to leave the community and I'm going to make a piece on how the original critique that I have about you being abusive towards your orbiters, that actually carries over to sex, and now I believe you're sexually abusive. Just kind of snowballed. But I don't agree with this framing.
I think what he did for Max would be great if it wasn't paired with, sometimes I'm going to do underhanded things to make my huge wave of an audience hate you, and do other small string pulling things within the subreddit where we talk about these ideas to make it worse. So no.
Okay.
I agree with his.
Man, isn't it always, bro? I'm gonna say it, but dude, it's always so convenient how these narratives get drawn up about, like, Destiny being a bad guy or a really shitty human being or whatever, or DGG being bad, or Destiny having an abusive relationship with his orbiters. It always comes up after there's a significant amount that's been gained by X or Y or Z group. It's never done like prior to them being in the community, and then they're like enter it, and then it's like, oh, actually, like a week in, yeah, you know what? Actually, I don't really want to engage with this anymore, and then I leave. It's always like, oh, let's gain for months, in some cases years, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, all of that shit was cap. It's like, bro, what? Let's see you come through tomorrow, say Mr. Girl or Ahrelevant's talking to Mr. Girl at all has made it has made me hate that guy. And I never want to talk to him again. And his presence is banned in my shit. And I'd be like, that's cringe that, just me talking to him did that. But I wouldn't be like, you know what? That's cringe. And that completely dissolves all of the shit leading up to it. It's like, what the fuck? It dissolves. I don't know. It just doesn't make no sense to me. It feels like people have a really big habit of like, the past, that's the past. It's all about the present, baby. And when we talk about the past, it's only about what I feel right now, which is, I don't really like the guy. So he didn't do much for me.
I agree with what I think.
Or sorry, they aren't saying that he didn't do much for them. They're doing the caveat thing that they blame Stardust for doing, which I don't even think Stardust did that much, but they're doing what they said Stardust did, which is, oh yeah, Destiny was great and all, but like he's a piece of shit. So like it would have been great if Destiny, all the shit that Destiny did for Max, but he's a piece of shit. So
is his like goal or I don't know if approach is right because that implies action. His like mission statement, if you will.
Sure. I mean, I've watched Destiny for a long time. I know there's a meme of the white blood
I'm
cell,
trying to do insider trading.
Happy to criticize Destiny if I think there's something I see that's wrong, or say I agree with Destiny or whatever. I guess my issue with this, I don't want to seem like I'm coming down super hard on either side. I'm trying to mainly just be challenging the course of this interview. But one thing I just want to point from a personal point of view is I don't really know if he presents himself as like the most ethical streamer. I think his whole thing is he is interested in numero uno, but it just so happens that a lot of things he believes will enhance the experience for himself in his own life. So some of the things he argues for, he sees a benefit to himself, and that's why he argues for it. Does that make sense? I don't know if he's trying to present himself as the most ethical or most altruistic streamer or something like that. My perception is that it's more so, he's out for himself.
I think he is, and I think he would.
I think. They're talking about presentation. I thought I remember back in the old days, Destiny said the explicit opposite about himself. He said that he was a very selfish guy, but when he looked at like what being selfish in the world means, it actually often results in very altruistic acts. So, for instance, like somebody might think a selfish move is to make it so everyone has to pay out of pocket for healthcare, right? And for independent, like private health insurance. That's actually not the best thing to do because that ends up resulting in less viability for people to get to live in your country, to survive in your country, to be able to provide resources to your country, to give you a better environment to live. Because people will make more money, be more productive, and give you cheaper products, give you whatever. So it is actually better for you to be selfish, in you being selfish, sorry, not for you to be selfish, but that in you being selfish, you can do a lot of altruistic things. I remember that was an ancient meme, though, when that was a conversation, I think like fucking 3 years ago or something. I heard him talk about that. I don't know if that's still his position, but...
Admit that aspect, that he cares about what's going to benefit him. But I believe that in the conversations with Max, that he's also putting forth a defense of himself in which he describes the success of his platform as a justification for the way it is run. So essentially, because it is one of the largest platforms, because it is a successful stream and Reddit community, that means that he's doing a good job of running it. Sort of hinting at the idea that it's clearly working, so essentially, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so I just think that like that's not the correct standard by which we judge what is moral or good for the community. If he actually thinks that the only thing he should care about is himself and not his community and the people that he
Well, hold on. It's a bit difficult because these are untreaded grounds. This isn't math. So when it comes to it ain't broke, don't fix it, to ethics, that's pretty important because when you make small changes to your guidelines for how individuals can interact with your community, you can have very big effects that can cause a lot of damage. So I don't think just going like, it ain't broke, don't fix it is a shitty. Sure, when we're talking about like repairing cars and shit, like it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the thing is clearly going to break down in 5 miles because the like fucking engine's about to fall out, right? You know, that, you know, kind of perspective on it makes a little bit more sense. But when we're talking about at the ethics of how to run a community, I think it ain't broke, don't fix it is actually pretty decent. I think it is a far better idea because like no substantive sexual abuse claims have been levied. No, well, substantiated by my standards. Some people might look it over and find some to be substantive, but no significant emotional distress or trauma has been substantiated, at least as reasonable from Destiny's point of view. No justified position of that. So as far as that goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Small changes could result in severe problems like that. Unforeseen consequences of power dynamic shifts, unforeseen consequences of responsibility shifts for Destiny. Like, for instance, if Destiny does recognize, yep, dogpiling on my stream is a really big issue, let me make a small change, let's say, like he did with the 3-day rule on his subreddit, then it opens them up to ethical liability for like, why 3 days? Why not 4? Why not 5? Why not 2? Why not whatever? And so now he has to navigate justifying that rule, but not justifying, I don't know, a no dogpiling rule on X, Y, and Z platform if he might coincide of, you know what I'm saying? It opens yourself up to not only hypocrisy that you might have in different areas, but also just like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Let's discuss, does it extend to other places and shit like that? That could result in him having a unethical relationship with, I don't know, an orbiter or something.
Ages with, then he's a fucking selfish prick. Like, fine, if that's your position, then okay. But I think it's more complicated than that. I think there are a lot of subtle implications he's making about how the success of his platform supports the way he runs it. And I just don't agree with that.
Okay. So in any case, it sounds like, I mean, listen, okay. Obviously, Destiny is going to react to this. He was going to react whether I asked you about that anyway, but I think it's important to ask because obviously you've got your perspective on it. How do you feel about the fact that Destiny will react to this and then his community is likely going to talk about this at length too? How do you feel about that?
I mean, they already fucking think I'm a brainwashed, stupid, pathetic woman. Like, I don't, you know what? Like, it is kind of intimidating knowing that.
You know what? I'm going to start saying that everybody that has a negative opinion of me has that opinion because I'm black. I'm getting tired of this shit. I'm getting tired of this shit, man. So many niggas weaponizing their fucking identity in every single moment. I don't know.
Hundreds of
Jesus Christ, I need some fucking free clout. Some free racism clout.
Of thousands of people will see this and will probably think I'm either just siding with Max because I'm dating him or whatever, or just think I'm stupid. Maybe if Lav is correct in this point, you know, maybe they'll just hate me because I'm a woman. Who knows what they'll say? But I don't rely on his community, and I think that it's important as an outsider to say that I think it's wrong.
That's true, Kumishi.
And I have been pretty uncomfortable with Max streaming for a while because I can see the
Soft. I agree with that
toll
as well.
it can take
Soft.
on someone to feel this like emotional pressure that's very kind of insidious and subtle in these communities. And so yeah, as I said early on, I don't blame Destiny for the structure of streaming being kind of problematic, but I think that he doesn't take his role seriously enough. And I don't know what his problem is with
Wait, Ahrelevant, you're black? No, I'm white.
taking some responsibility, but like with great power comes great responsibility, bro. Like fucking Spider-Man 101, bitch. I don't understand why he just like can't fucking connect to it. It's so irritating.
Okay. What about the perspective that one as a content creator can disregard the worst of what is being said about you? For example, you could ignore the subreddit, not post in it, and just disregard the things that are being said about you there.
It's not just about the content creator ignoring the subreddit. My sense is that there's the personal attack part that can be emotionally traumatic, but also the community itself is in some ways like a currency for streamers. So it's not just that he is shaping this narrative or even possibly saying vicious things himself or even subtly dismissive things. It's also that he is largely in control of the currency that feeds all of his orbiters' careers. And I feel like Max described this as like he's their boss or whatever. It's because of the way that streaming is set up. It's obviously not that clear cut, but he is the largest director, I guess you could say, of this currency and how it is spent, I think, because the audience is attached to his perspective. And so I don't think it's just that you can look away, because your career is tied into what this community thinks of you if you're an orbiter. And even if you're not, like, the idea that hundreds of thousands of people are gonna shit talk you in his subreddit is, I think, emotionally damaging just to know that it's happening, even if you don't read it.
Bruh, go play a fucking video game, nigga. Go out. Fuck.
So no. That's dumb.
Okay, right. Here's what we're going to do, okay? We're going to... I want you to do something for me right now.
How are you feeling about your Destiny LLC employment position? I don't know. My stocks, I hear, are pretty decent. Might do a bank run. It's looking like FTX at the moment. I might do a bank run. I don't know what to say. I don't view it this way. It's pretty simple. I am a independent agent. I can stream entirely on my own. Is it going to impact my career? Yeah, but again, I feel like the choice aspect in that is really important. I saw that I was doing something, right? Let's say streaming just on my own, and I was like, this is not satisfactory. So I was looking for a different community of what somebody else could offer me. I saw an individual with a large platform that could offer me a community where I could get what I wanted. What did I want? I started streaming politics for one explicit purpose, and that was so that way I could realistically, a big part of who I am is I like the idea of doing everything I can personally to try to not be a bad person, right? Doing the best that I can to not be a bad person. And I think one of the greatest ways to do that is to engage in a sphere that is cutthroat in a way about politics or engagement with morals and philosophy. And I wanted to do that. Destiny could offer me that. So I wanted a part of Destiny's community. That simple. So I, long story short, I became a part of Destiny's community, and here I am. Still making good on that exact reason why I joined. And on top of that, yes, I do financially gain quite a bit. but I didn't. I don't know. To me, if we run that back at the beginning, and I'm joining because of the framing, because of my career, I don't understand. So you're on your own. You realize you're not making enough money. You want to make more money. You see somebody that can make you more money. You latch onto them to make you more money, and then when they want to stop giving you money, you're like, oh fuck you. I want you to make me. I want you to make me more money, even though you don't want to make. That's so weird to me. It's so fucking weird to me. Where they had no obligation to make you money in the first place. You're like, no, you're not making me enough money. And because you made me money in the first place with no obligation, now you have ethical obligations to me. This just doesn't make sense.
I want you
We'll see.
to give a message to Destiny.
Obviously, it's a mutually beneficial. It's obviously. I don't want to frame it as just like Destiny's benevolently giving other people money. It's obviously a mutually beneficial arrangement. But yeah, it's for me, it was more about like exactly what, weirdly enough, people are arguing against Destiny's community for, being cutthroat or whatever, dog piley and shit. I want to be able to go into a Discord, have 5 people disagree with me who are some of the that are beholden to a level of public scrutiny that makes me feel like if they are even in that room, they have undergone rigorous levels of public criticism. I don't want to be. I got tired of going into random Discords talking with people that didn't even know what the word wealth was. They thought wealth was just like cash sitting on your mattress, or talking to leftists who thought that every billionaire had literally physically billions of dollars inside of their like bank account. It was so exhausting.
Destiny's going to watch this, and I want you to give
Relly is so full of shit, he's a clout trick. I do like the clout. I won't deny that.
uninterrupted message to Destiny. Speak to him, because it seems like you're not going to speak to him one-on-one.
Doesn't it come off as extremely entitled? Doesn't it come off as an extremely entitled person who has been handed everything and thinks he's owed more? Well, I think the implication is handed everything here, and that what does handed everything mean, especially if it is a mutually beneficial relationship? If you view it as a mutually beneficial relationship, I think the entitlement argument becomes less like of a thing, but in the way that it's manifested, I think it is entitled. But yeah.
Is your message to Destiny? Go.
I don't know if I want to answer this. I'm not going to answer that, Chud.
Okay.
You can't twist your interview into me talking to Destiny instead.
Listen, I just thought it might be an interesting moment, okay? But the fact you don't want to do it is fair enough, and I completely respect that, okay? Please make a note on the record that we, I say we.
Chud respects women's boundaries.
Yes, exactly. I respect your boundaries, and you are not wishing to give a message to Destiny. We will respect that. Now, here's what's going to happen now. We're going to move into the question section from the audience. And how it's going to work is there's quite a few people watching, and I want to make some money off of this, okay?
Okay.
And also,
yep.
I don't want just random questions from shitters in chat. I want it to be a barrier of entry so people actually think about what they're asking. It's not much. All you need to do is attach your question to either a subscription. Alternatively, you can send 100 bits or $1 dono, and that is sufficient, and I will ask the question.
Wow, pretty
okay?
cheap.
There's plenty of time. I'll give a
entry.
cut-off so you don't end up asking a question I can't ask, okay? Obviously, you get refusal rights if you really don't want to answer a question. If someone asks you something that's really horrendous, you don't have to answer it. You full refusal rights, okay? No refunds, no money back. Now, whilst we're getting people coming through, I just want to ask something important. Do you have any opinion that differs substantively from what Mr. Girl's opinion is?
That's a good question.
On any topic?
Yes.
Well, we know she does, right? At least with the
Differs.
spell review thing.
What's substantively really? No, I guess I have some of my own like thoughts about gender that he hasn't like talked about or anything like that. I would say one of them is that I believe the I guess prevalence or emphasis on the trans experience is normalizing plastic surgery for women, which really negatively affects women.
What?
And I find that incredibly disturbing.
Because trans women will sometimes get fake breasts and like certain other like gender affirming care that people then feel compelled to support because it's viewed as gender affirming care, and then when it's viewed as gender affirming care it's not viewed in the critical light that it maybe should from her perspective, and then it normalizes that kind of behavior even amongst cis women.
And also, as I was saying in your chat the other day,
That's literally a Mr. Girl take. Lol, she has no own takes. Well, let's let her speak.
the idea of that I believe that trans individuals connect their identity to being more real than their physical bodies, because obviously their body doesn't line up with their identity, at least initially. And because of this, I think that this is why this concept of transgenocide is a bit, well, I personally think it's questionable, but the reason why I think you can make the leap is because an attack on the identity is more real than an attack on their physical bodies. So there's a dissonance between how we normally would define genocide with other people or beings or whatever, as being connected to, I think, their physical bodies, whereas the trans experience requires that you prioritize the identity over their physical bodies. I don't agree with this personally, but I feel like that is both an argument for and against this concept in different ways. But I don't know. Those are some of my thoughts.
Okay. I mean, do you
Did anybody understand what the fuck that was? I don't understand what the fuck she just said. I was trying the entire time to figure out what the fuck she just said. Damn, man. Man, I suck at explaining things, but god damn. Fuck me.
think that Mr. Girl would like significantly disagree with what you just said?
No, but we're pretty aligned, I think, like politically.
Okay.
But those are just some of my very own ideas that he has not talked about.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I did ask if there's anything you substantively disagreed on, and you told me something that you agree
fuck you,
on.
Chud. No.
That's pretty crazy, bro.
No,
Okay.
I think we agree on a lot of stuff.
Okay. That's fine. I'll move on to the questions. So let's get to the meat from McFiston. Let's get to the meat. Do you feel safe with Max at his angriest?
Nice job. All right. We might end up watching this because somebody said that watch this. I feel like what is it? Talking with poly people. Will and his channel. We might end up watching Independent because I was told that there was a big fucking what's his face got in there. Did they take down the video? They might have taken down the video. Unlucky. All right, but they had a debate with a bunch of people. When are you going to start taking regular call-ins? I'm drunk enough to accept getting dunked on by you for content. Well, it's just I don't even know what the fuck the call-in would even be about. Like, without a disagreement, was it just gonna be a hey, what's up? How's it going? See, Tate has been reinstated on Twitter. I saw that. Yeah. Well, I heard about it. I didn't see it. But yeah, I heard about it. I did indeed hear about it. Wait, what happened to the Ethnocells stream? Oh, here it is. Wait, are you drunk in the AM or are you a Euro cuck? That's actually a pretty good question. All right, but I'm gonna be done for today. That was fun. I do want to go over the implosion between Will and his channel. Apparently, Dylan Burns involved and shit like that. I want any footage regarding that, and I want to cover that tomorrow. What else? What else are we covering? I forget there was something else. I don't know what that shit is. All right. Join the Discord. Women on Reddit prove I was one. Oh yeah, this guy still exists. I forgot about this guy. Women bails after expensive date gets called out. I remember this channel. An older guy. But either way, yeah, join the Discord. We have a new channel in there for Darktide, a video game that recently came out that is quite fun and enjoyable, made from the same people that made Vermintide 2. Warhammer Vermintide 2. Very fun game, very enjoyable game, really great experience. That's something that you think you would enjoy, just kind of being in a Discord where there's some people doing some stupid shit, or if you just want notifications when I'm not going to go live, because I do post when I'm not going to go live in that Discord, so you guys can know as early as I know, then yeah, join the Discord. Discord is in the description down below. I will be back tomorrow. I'll try and be earlier this time because I do like starting stream at 2 a.m. Pacific Standard, which is roughly 8.5 hours earlier than what time it is right now. And we'll see if that can actually be done. I had a pretty late night last night, but it is what it is. We'll see if we can't get that going in the future. All right? But for now, I'm going to go ahead and go. I think it's right about that time. So you guys have a good rest of your day. I'll see you all tomorrow. All right? Stay safe.